Right, is that good? All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Quality of Life Committee meeting. I'm Pat Moore, the chair. We have Mariama James, who is the co-chair. We have Diana Sweetag, who is our Diana. I'm skipping. I'm blanking on title.
Director of Planning and Land Use
Thank you.
until next week on Wednesday, which is my last day with the
We will
community.
not discuss because we will cry if we discuss that, okay? We'll discuss it at the end of the meeting. I'm sure that there are some people who didn't know that you were leaving and they'll be unhappy and we'll have to talk about it. But anyway, so we're going to get started. And the first item on our agenda for tonight is we have DDC here, as we do every other month, for them to give us an update on what is going on. But before we do that, do I have any new committee members? Anybody here that's new? I can't see everybody. No? You're all old timers? Nobody new? Okay. I thought we had, I see Rosa's here. Hi, Rosa.
I think Lucian told Dr. Reitman she was going at the start of the meeting. But I don't know if she may be able to wait until after DDC. I'm not sure.
Well,
But I see her on the meeting.
I see, yes, I think I see her also. Hi, how are you? Um, well, DDC, do you mind? Because it isn't going to take very long to do this health and hospital, is it? No? Yes, no? Okay. So
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
believe so. Most of it is something that we did initially back in 2016. So we're kind of revisiting and updating for, the current year,
So take it away.
changing a little bit of the language slightly.
Mariama, take it away.
So back in 2016, we wrote a resolution accompanied by a letter giving our support for HHC to be the contractor for the World Trade Center Environmental Health Center. And that previous application is expiring, and they need us to come back in and give them a new letter and/or resolution. I think the resolution will be more helpful. But like I said, some of the information has to be updated to 2022. For example, we refer to the young people that were present on 9/11 as adolescents. They are no more. The younger survivors at this point would be, I guess, 18 or 19 at the youngest. And so everybody is technically an adult at this point. So just things like that we need to make some slight changes, and also incorporate the data center into the language. And I think that I did that with some updates that I sent to Pat, Lucian, and Diane. I don't know if they had an opportunity to circulate them, but I'm sure the doctor will talk about it. Hi, Dr. Reitman.
Hi. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you sound very raspy. I hope you're okay.
Yeah. It's I hope it's not COVID. I don't think so. Hi. Thank you all very much for allowing us to come and talk today. I know Angel is also on. And I want to really say thank you very much for helping us out with the resolution, and we're very appreciative of all your support. I thought maybe I'd give a very, very quick update, if that's okay, where we are, so that you know what we're asking for. First, as many of you may remember, about now 20 years ago, we went around working with many local community groups, and many of you, in fact, to do a study demonstrating really adverse health effects in residents who live near the World Trade Center towers. And then, in collaboration with the people who worked on us with that project, and with many of you again here, we created a small clinic at Bellevue Hospital to treat the local residents with World Trade Center related respiratory effects. This project was then funded by philanthropy, the American Red Cross, and then by a grant from the City of New York, and eventually in 2008, a grant by the federal government, which became a contract in 2010, when we were included under the James Droga 9/11 Health and Compensation Act, as at that time, the only clinical center of excellence for community members, and we were renamed survivors. By definition, people who lived, worked, went to school, or were passing by on 9/11. This program now under the jurisdiction of the federal government, that is CDC NIOSH, the World Trade Center Health Program, is a multidisciplinary treatment and surveillance program for World Trade Center-related physical and mental health conditions, which are defined by the World Trade Center Health Program. The geographic boundary of the New York City disaster area, which is what allows people to join this program, is defined by the WTCHP and certainly includes Community Board 1 area. Currently, the program is located at Bellevue Hospital, which is the biggest program, but also at Gouverneur and Elmhurst Hospital in Queens. And as per the WTC Health Program, which defines now how we function, treatment costs for World Trade Center-related diseases are first covered by an individual's insurance and subsequently by any remaining copays or deductibles are covered by the program. Because of the increase in need several years ago, the Survivor program was expanded to include the World Trade Center, the William Street Clinic, which is separate from us, but also sees survivors, but is a very separate program, not within the WTC Environmental Health Center. To date, the WTC Environmental Health Center has enrolled over 13,600 patients. Importantly, in contrast to the programs that serve the responders, our population is 50% women with diverse race and ethnicity. As you heard, although we originally had children and adolescents, most of those people have aged out and are now what we would call the emerging adults or adults or even older adults, and actually now even an aging population. 28% of our population were residents at the time, and 56% were local workers. We think about exposures as acute and chronic, or combined acute and chronic, and over 50% of our population reported acute exposures from the dust clouds on 9/11. The others had chronic exposures from resuspended dust in the days, weeks, and months after 9/11. What are we seeing and what have we seen? It's changing over time. From the beginning, many of our patients scored positive for WTC-related PTSD symptoms. We still see many of our patients scoring positive, including our new enrollees, scoring positive for this. Most patients who enroll do so with aerodigestive symptoms, upper airway symptoms of chronic nasal and sinus congestion, or lower airway symptoms consistent with asthma, COPD, and less commonly sarcoidosis or lung fibrosis, or chronic acid reflux. We also, unfortunately, have many members and an increasing number of members enrolling with World Trade Center-related cancer. As of December 2021, we had nearly 4,400 individuals with cancers. Those are predominantly breast cancer and prostate cancer, but also we have some very unusual cancers. We also have a fair number of blood disorders. The Droga Act funded the program starting in 2010 and was reauthorized in 2015. At that time, we obtained a contract to continue the program for 5 years, and you wrote a resolution, which we are enormously appreciative of at that point. We are now required to resubmit for a renewed contract for the next 10 years. And that's why we're here to ask you again for CB1 support for both the CCE, that is the Clinical Center of Excellence, as well as for our data center, which helps us really compile the information we have and understand the issues that we are seeing in our patient population. So again, we just want to thank you for your support and know many of you here. Many of you have worked with us side by side for the last 20 years. And so thank you very much for hanging in there with us. And I'm happy to take any questions from you.
Any questions, anyone?
I do. I'm having trouble figuring out how to raise my hand.
Bill?
Go ahead, Justine, go ahead.
Thank you so much. No, I want to thank Maremma for bringing this to this committee. And also thank Joan for her statements. This is such a vitally important program. It offers and provides help to people who were suffering for 9/11. As she said, residents, workers, people who were there that day and flew in, flew out, basically. And so many people are still suffering. Sorry, I'm triggered by the PTSD just thinking about it and talking about it. But it's such an important program, and they need to continue. They've done good work. They need to keep doing good work. They need to be funded to do more work and do better work, because we could sit down and talk about how there's more needed to. More help needs to be given to folks suffering from PTSD, and more attention has to be paid to that. Better processing and more access to, is would be helpful. But first, let's let them continue, because they've done an amazing job, and they are the only entity that's there that's doing this amazing job. So thank you.
And
Jill,
Miriam,
you're
I'm
raising your
sorry, I
physical
just-
hand?
Yes, I'm raising my first of all, Redmond, thank you from the bottom of my heart for the incredible work you've done for this community. As you know, I lost my husband, Tom Goodkind, to 9/11 cancer in 2019. And two-part question. One is, in my community, I am seeing extraordinarily high number of cancers. Is there any way we can work with you to get a cluster study? I'm not sure what the official term is.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Second, my support for you comes from the bottom of my heart. And is there anything in addition to a resolution that we can do to support you? Thank you.
Well, first, I want to say how sorry I am. I know about your husband, and I really, you have I'm really sorry. It's really interesting to try to figure out the cancer issue, and it's very hard for us to do it from the World Trade Center Environmental Health Center, because we are not an epidemiologic study. People come in with cancers, and so we can't really do a good looking at rates. What we are doing and have applied for a number of grants, and we're now working with a number of programs within the NYU Cancer Group, as well as anyone else who wants to work with us, is try to understand when these cancers present, do they look like regular cancers? Do they act differently? Are they more aggressive? Do they respond to therapy? Things like that. And we're looking at sort of doing genome-wide analyses of these cancers to understand that. In order to do a cluster analysis, I don't really know how to do it. I'm not an epidemiologist. We have been really trying to get that'll come really a lot from the New York City Department of Health, which has probably the larger group of non-self-referred patients, so it's a better group for that. But it is a very good question and a very important question. I forgot your second question.
How, in addition to a resolution, can we help you? Because we, at least speaking for myself, very much want to do whatever we can. This helps our community, and we're very appreciative of all you do.
I appreciate that. And I think the first thing is really this, you're doing that by supporting us in this application. We are going to really need support for this, and we're going to need support for our data center. It's really, really important that we have our data center. It helps us understand within the WTC-EHC, what are we seeing? What are the types of things we're seeing? When we began, the data center was predominantly claims. That's sort of what the government wanted, but it really has expanded into a program that really helps us understand who's coming and what are the symptoms and what are we seeing. For example, we've been able to publish that we have high rates of PTSD. And in contrast to what we thought, the PTSD is actually persistent and doesn't just go away or dissolve like we thought it would, that there is something unusual about this PTSD. We have a pan-cancer database where we are now beginning to look within the WTC-EHC at what are the cancers that we're seeing. And so we've started by really just descriptive papers describing the database, describing what kind of cancers are we seeing, that we're seeing predominantly breast, and prostate, but not only those. And we are seeing some very weird and very unusual cancers. And because we're seeing those, we need to really begin and look at the biology of those cancers, not just an epidemiologic description. So this data center supports us in being able to do that. It also allows us to get other people interested in working with us. You know, we have only limited expertise, but it allows us to work, for example, with a cancer center at NYU, that is, or with a melanoma group at NYU, or any other group. It doesn't have to be NYU, who wants to work with us to understand more detail about these cancers. So this is really the first thing we need, and we really appreciate that question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Redmond.
Justine, is your hand raised again? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I raised it again based on something that Jill said about the cluster. I hear you saying that you don't have the resources for an epidemiological study, and that would be something that's in depth. But what Jill is referring to is just our kind of anecdotal study that like every other person you speak to who lived here on 9/11 has come down with some sort of cancer or died of it. And it's all coming to a head now. And now there's children who were, you know, adults, well, whatever, they're in their 20s and early 30s who were children that day, who are getting bizarre cancers, like you're saying, bizarre in the sense that they should not be getting thyroid cancers now. There are people who are being, let's say, stricken. You know, 2 9/11 cancers for me so far. Knock wood, been through them. But in the data collection portion of what you're doing, would it be so, you know, to get interest in some other entity actually doing the epidemiological study and going further into detail to formalize it. But I bet you could almost like throw a pin on a map and put down breast cancer is pink, you know, prostate cancer is blue, thyroid cancer is yellow, and you can just plug, because I know from my own self, on the floor that I lived in Gateway Plaza on 9/11/2001, every single woman on my floor who lived there that I've been in touch with and spoken to has had breast cancer. Survived, thankfully. But that's a lot of people on one floor. And that is, that can't be normal. All different ages, all different, you know, health levels. So things like that, it does seem to me, then you talk to somebody else and somebody else will give you stories about their floor or their friends or people who've moved on. I guess as a data collection, it might be something you might be able to do. And I guess I suggest it. That's all. But thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's something
No,
we
thank you
can
very much.
talk about.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because
Can
over
I just
here,
say-
it's pancreatic cancer.
My
Like,
husband died of pancreatic
all my
cancer.
friends' parents, you know, my friends that grew up here, their parents are dying of pancreatic cancer. And my good friend Sabrina died of pancreatic. She had the pancreatic, the lung, and the breast.
Right.
And
Um,
esophageal. I mean, there's just so many things that are just off the chart.
Yeah.
And it's when it's
So
everybody
can
that
I,
you know.
Well,
Can I ask one thing, which is that the other thing you can do, which I know you do all the time, and I know that there are barriers to it, but again, the more of these cancers we can collect, the better off we are in terms of understanding. I don't mean collect cancers per se, but I mean, you know, people who have cancers who can join the program. One of the things we have done lately is, you know, the William Street Clinic, for example, has a huge population now. We don't really know who they have yet, but we've just worked very closely with our IRB and with the WTC Health Program so that we can get that data, so that we can enhance our data collection with that data, because they have a huge population of cancers, so that we can also begin to use our data and their data to describe what's happening and what we can see.
It may
So,
help. It may help getting people's attention who've either moved or are trying to put your head down in denial, because you don't want to deal with this. Who wants to be looking behind their shoulder, right? But if you start talking about clusters, it might get their attention. And again, it has to be based on some data and some facts. So I just throw it out to you as another tool.
Right,
perhaps.
right. It's a great idea, and the question is how to do it, and it's a very good idea. Thank you.
Seeing no
John,
more
thank you.
hands, does everybody support us sort of
So there,
reinserting our resolution?
Miriam, Mitch couldn't see the resolution. Anyone else who can't see it? Because if you want, do you want to just?
Desi, do you have a question?
Who?
I'm sorry, Pat, did you mention my name?
Yeah, Mitch can't see the resolution. Is there
No,
anyone
but
else? who
I
can
don't
see
have a
it?
question.
Okay, so
Desi, do you have a question or is your hand up to support?
I don't have a question. My hand is up in support.
Okay, thank you.
And
so
Mitch, I
Miriam, you want to
texted
just
you.
read? You want to just
to look
read
at it.
the end of the resolution, like the whereas? I see where it's highlighted. You want to just read what you have?
The new updated portion, sure, let me
Yeah.
bring it up on my screen.
You
Pat,
want me
I
to
think
read it?
I closed my computer, so I reopened it and everything went back to normal.
You can see it, Mitch?
I can see the light.
Okay, so then you don't have to read it. Everyone can see it, right?
Thank you so
Okay.
much, Pat.
Okay, very good. So in that case, we would basically just rewrite it, changing a few things to bring it into 2022. And maybe we can call the question here. Somebody can second.
Also, Miriam, it's dated May 24th, 2016, so we want to date it today.
Right, we gotta change that too, yes.
Okay. And we want to take out all of the voting. And it's the title is Support for New York City Health and Hospitals World Trade Center Environmental Health Center's application to continue to administer the World Trade Center Health Program Survivor Program.
Yes.
So everybody's got that, and has everyone had a chance to kind of look it over?
There's just one typo near the bottom where it says September's 11.
Oh, yeah, I see that now too. Thank you.
Also, I don't know if you mentioned this. Did Dr. Reedman say for 10 years or 5 years? Because
10 years.
okay, because in the resolution it says for another 5 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
It says
it's
5, so
10.
make that 10. 10 is a much better length of time.
So Mariama, you want to lead the vote?
Sure. Can we get somebody to call the question and second it and all that stuff?
Call the question.
I'll second it.
Very good, thank you. Can we just do a vote by affirmation since everybody seems to support? So anybody opposed? Recused? Abstentions? It passes unanimously then. Thank you.
Dr. Reitman, thank you for all of the work that you've done over all of these years. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much.
Taking care
Thank
of our
all of you
community.
very much who have
We're
really.
getting a clap from Rosa. And
Thank
Diane's
all of
putting
you
a
very.
thumbs
Can you hear me? I'm sorry. Thank
Glad
all
to
of
hear
you for all of your work that has been for over all these years. And it's really good to see many of you who I haven't seen in a long time. So thank you very much.
up. Feel better.
Thank you.
My mother will tell you to go boggle with some salt water or something.
Or honey and lemon.
My
I was gonna say
granddaughter,
honey and lemon's
my
my
grand-
thing.
my-
Yeah.
my granddaughter was generous with her germs.
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
He loves you.
Yeah, cheers to that.
Okay.
So, thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you very much.
And don't forget, we'll be presenting this next Tuesday. It's next Tuesday, right, at the full board meeting?
It is, yes.
So in case you want to tune in just to hear the.
Oh,
full
that's
board.
primary day.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
So I just wanted to introduce, I had asked earlier if we had any new board members. I see that Desi Robinson is on. Desi, give a wave to everybody. Welcome. Is
Welcome, Desi. Hi.
there anyone else that's new? Okay. And Diana, I think it's that now we all have to have our cameras on, right? So I just want to remind everyone.
Yes, from what I
Okay.
understand from Lucian, I think technically it's not in effect yet, but we are really trying to get everybody into the swing of everything. So we are prepared for when the time comes. So yes, we are trying to keep our cameras on and stay in place, especially during voting.
All right, so if you can, please put your cameras on. All right,
I think
so
it was extended to July 15th though. You know, the
Yes.
bill.
That is correct.
yeah. All right, so we're going to move on. Thank you, Mariama, and you'll present this at the full board meeting. So we're going to move on now to our presentation by DDC, and this is something that those of you who are familiar, you know that every other month they come and they present all of the ongoing projects in our community. So I don't know who's here. So Dushyant was here. Dushyant, hi.
Hi, hi. Good evening, everyone.
Who else
Uh,
is here?
this is Dushyant Rajput, engineer in charge, NYC DDC. I'm going to update you regarding the reconstruction of West Street between Herschel and Varick Street. That project has been substantially completed, and we will have our QA inspection from DDC, and city DOT representative will be also with us tomorrow morning for the walkthrough, and then the punch list will be created, and the guarantee inspection period will start starting tomorrow. That will be like 18 months. And as we discuss and based on that discussion, I will notify committee board after 18 months.
Dushyant, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I didn't hear what the 18 months was for.
Or 18 months is a guarantee inspection after the substation completion of the project.
Okay, and so you're doing the walkthrough tomorrow.
Yeah, walkthrough, this is for the substantial inspection walkthrough. After 18 months will be guarantee inspection walkthrough. So at that time, I will inform community board regarding the guarantee inspection walkthrough. That should be sometime in December 2024.
Okay.
So that's all for me, from me. And
That's it
if
for you?
anybody has, yeah,
Okay.
welcome. Anybody has any questions, I can answer.
So who else is here? By the way, we had a thank you from the residents on Worth Street.
Yes.
So whoever worked on the Worth Street project, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so now for the other projects, I think Frankie Lau is going to update. Frankie?
Hey, Frankie.
I may need to move Frankie over. Give me 1 minute.
Just so
Matt, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, can't complain.
Good. Nobody listens to us when we complain. anymore.
Exactly. So, alrighty. I have let's talk about Front Street.
Okay.
All right, so the reconstruction of Front Street project, I think I presented this last time. Project end date has been, we submitted and it was approved the time extension. We're out until October of 23. Again, it's all, we're finding, tons of utility interference in the ground. We started to do a lot more city work. We started putting some more basins, but it's been a slow process in terms of the utility relocation. So we did a lot of it.
Between what streets? Right.
This is Front Street from Old Slip to John Street.
Okay.
So we're chugging along. We have, we also got shut down last week because there was the Bloomberg run.
Yeah.
So we had to backfill everything and have that thing ready for Wednesday. It was a midweek run. So that's that. And then we also have the 4th of July, the fireworks. So we're in the Bargo area. So at this point, I don't think City DOT is going to shut us down. They're going to give us a waiver. So, but depending on what they say, we might slow down a little bit.
Right.
But we're moving along. It's just a lot of things that we found. There's a lot of things that wasn't accounted for. That wasn't in the original scope. We find damaged sewers that we have to come and repair. We found. There's a ponding issue on Maiden Lane that we're gonna address. That's not in our contract.
You said a ponding issue, so water.
Yeah. So along the curb line on Maiden, on the northeast corner of Maiden, where the hotel is, for some reason there's a big ponding issue. We found that when we got there, and then we're actually gonna go in and put a catch basin in to alleviate that issue. So there's a lot of moving pieces going on that project. We also encountered some TA unaccounted for facilities, that we have to repair. So there's a lot of things tacked on that nobody saw coming.
Right.
So that's where the delay is.
We're used to that when you open the ground. Yep.
Yeah. Things are extremely high. We're finding things 3-4 inches from the top of the road down there.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. It's just the slow process of moving things out of the way.
Right. Okay.
Um,
So you said the end date is now October
October, yeah, October of 23.
Okay.
I have the Greenwich Street project, but before I you guys passed that, my team from that project is on. They could give you an update. I'm gonna give an update for the West Broadway project.
Okay.
So this is the West Broadway reconstruction project. It's a combined sewer project that actually just started June 6th. They just mobilized on site. That's on West Broadway from Leonard to Thomas, bypassing the intersection of Worth. The contractor pretty much just set up their MPT and it started excavating and removing trolley work. They actually found all the abandoned trolley tracks in the road. Yeah. So they're in the process of removing that. Again, this project just started, and the anticipated end date is summer of 24. So that project's going to be here for a while. I mean, that's not one of mine. I'm just the EIC Madeline Skoblik is couldn't attend today, so I'm just going to I was just giving an update for the meeting.
Great, thank you.
Ironically, we were
problem.
supposed to have a presentation about a woman that was thrown off of the trolley and desegregated New York City train stations or in transportation system today, but it's been moved to waterfronts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. I mean, a lot of the work is on that west sidewalk where 60 Hudson is, but that work cannot start because 60 Hudson has a sidewalk shed that's up. They had given us a schedule that they were going to take that shed down by July, but it looks like that's going to slip for a couple of months.
Now,
So
is that something that you need us to help with? Like,
I don't think so. They've been cooperative
Mhm.
from what I've heard. They've given us, I think a lot of their work is based on, subs. So I think by the next meeting, they should have a better understanding and schedule of when this thing is really going to come down. And, if they need to, maybe Maddie would reach out when she does her presentation at the next meeting. Maybe if she needs help, she'll let you guys know.
Okay.
So that would be great, if that's, if we're still running into the same
60
issue
we're
that
all
we're
friends with 60 Hudson.
okay, perfect. So other than that, for me, I have Nassau Street coming up, but then that's still out end of the year, maybe to start early next year. And that's Nassau from Maiden down to Pine. But yeah. And
Yes.
yeah, that's it. I don't.
Late this
you have
year
any
or
questions?
early next year? Yes. Could you?
Yeah, I think it's already been out to bid. They're just waiting for award. There's some paperwork going on. So they were telling me fall of this year, which usually translates to maybe even if it's awarded, it's a spring start. Depends on how late they get everything done. So I would, I don't mind starting, but let's see how things fall. I would say late this year, early next year at the earliest.
Okay. Thank you so much for the update. And how
No
long are we
problem.
talking about again?
That should be at least 2 years on that contract. But then you're getting new catch basins, there's new sidewalks, curb sidewalks, we're reconstructing the roadway, we're dropping a lot of the utilities. So we're doing upgrades to the infrastructure to that whole corridor. So pretty much tying into what Fulton Phase 3 did years ago.
It's right up to Rose's door, which is why she's asking.
Yes, it is literally up to my door. I was
Yes.
also, are there any trees involved coming up to my door?
I would have to get back to you. I have to look at the final drawings. I don't have that information right now. I could get back to you at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
No problem. And I know Lucian, and I've talked to Lucian about this one for quite a while now. And then I think he wanted to do like a stakeholders kind of thing. I think some stakeholders along the corridor had some concern. So whenever we have a more concrete date of when we're going to start, we could start that conversation too.
And then Rosa will be on that committee. Yep.
Yep.
So we're gonna go back to Greenwich Street?
Yep. So I have my great team that's on this call, and they could give you an update, guys.
Great,
Hi,
thank
good
you.
evening, everyone. I'm Philip Stafford, the liaison on Greenwich Street, and
So
Peter,
who is it that's gonna give us an update?
Peter Roloff, the resident engineer, is here as well.
Is it Philip?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Philip, hi.
Talk a little louder.
Yeah, we can't
Okay.
hear you.
Let me just move this. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So on Greenwich Street, we've been making some pretty steady progress. We had to take a little time off for the American Heart Association 5K, but recently we've installed 2 new catch basins on Greenwich and Barclay on the northeast and southeast corner of the street. That's right by Silverstein Family Park across from World Trade Center 7. So those are installed. We've installed the chute connections. Everything's temporarily restored. We're working on Greenwich Street. The contractor's mostly built a new sewer manhole, and that's on Greenwich between Park and Barclay in our work MPT setup area. So we have a little bit of Con Ed work there to do before we can finish the manhole. And we also have a new catch basin we'll put right up against that. A couple other areas we're working in.
Philip, what's the
Yes.
scope of the project? What is between what streets?
Well, it's on Greenwich from Barclay to Chambers, but most of the job is really between Barclay and Murray. And we're only working between Barclay and Murray right now. We're also working at Park Place in Greenwich Street on the northeast corner. We have an open excavation to install a catch basin and move some utilities. And as of today on Greenwich and Murray Street, the contractor put in a new catch basin on the southeast corner, and we're excavating to install the chute connection right now. So that's all of the places we're working. The idea is we'll do all of the drainage work on the east side of Greenwich between Barclay and Murray, and then we'll shift our setup so we can do the drainage work on the west side of Greenwich between Barclay and Murray before we do the water main work. And we would hope, the contractor says maybe we can switch everything over at the end of August or September. But that's just gonna be dependent on what kind of utility interference we run into.
Right. So right now, if you can switch everything, that's to the west side between August and September. How long do you think it would actually take to finish the job? I know it's a guess.
I believe our original completion date, which we're still on track for, is November 2024.
November 2024?
Yes.
Thank you.
And just a couple other, not exactly construction things. I had mentioned this to Lucian, the American Heart Association thing. This year wasn't too bad. Contractor took a week off, but next year we'll be on the west side of Greenwich Street, and we also expect BNY Mellon Bank to start their Bollard project. So it's really going to be a lot more constricted, and it'd be much more of an issue next year if we have to move all of our MPT. So if we could get the conversation started, I don't know if they could move the route or something, but I know it's a year away.
We had already started the discussion that we were going to see if they could do it later, and also if they might be able to move the route. So I will. It was the American Heart, right? I'll put up with Lucian again.
5K, yeah, exactly. And because that would be great. And I know it'd be easier for them as well. And the other thing is I talk to BNY Mellon Bank every other Friday because they're getting their schedule together for their Bollard projects. And I know the community board had mentioned that they'd like for them to come and present. So I spoke to one of their employees, and he said they're not quite ready for that because their contractor hasn't given them a firm schedule. Maybe in September they could come when they have a better schedule, and I assume they'd want to come to the quality of life meeting or wherever you guys want them.
Yeah, they would come here, and it would be perfect for September.
Okay, so
you guys would be coming back again in September.
Yeah, so I'll see what they say because I talk to them every other Friday, and they're getting ready to start, but I think they're kind of the DC 37 building where they're doing that project. They're trying to work that out as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Philip.
Sure. Any questions?
Mariama?
I think Alice has her hand up.
Yep, I do too.
Let's let Alice
Okay.
let you go.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Yeah, thanks, Philip. I think we had asked for an update on the, is it 101 Barclay? I'm forgetting the address now, of the Bank of New York. Not just so much for quality of life issues, but the community board felt strongly that, they were opposed to the bollards, as you know, and never really saw an update from when there was a large discussion, I'm sure you remember, on the actual interior lobby and the sort of exchange that was being presented. So I think what was really being asked for, in addition to what we're just discussing here tonight, was to see the plans, the updated plans, and see where those are going. And I'm not sure what committee that goes in, but whatever a convenient night is, whether it's at land use or executive, would be helpful. So I don't know if we could
Yeah.
push forward on that. That would be, I think that's
Probably
part
anyway.
of what we were looking to do.
Alice, would you shoot Lucian an email, please?
You bet.
Yeah, because it probably would go to Pat and land use, but we'll see.
Okay, terrific. Thanks a lot, Pat.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Pat,
Who's calling? Who's
it's
calling?
Frankie.
Frankie. Hi, Frankie.
I think if you have all of these questions that you have for BMY, if you could just put them all in writing, maybe Phil and Peter could give send this over to them, so at least when they do their presentation, they can have all of that for you guys.
Okay.
Again, this is their project. We're just coordinating with them, so we don't really know what their scope is.
Right.
Especially the interior scope.
Right.
So I think, whatever questions you guys have for tonight, I think it would be best if you could get Lucian to just shoot us an email with all of it listed, and we can forward that over to them. So this way, when they do their presentation, they have all of that info for you guys.
Okay, great. Okay. I'm putting it down. We will do that. But also Alice will shoot an email to Lucian, so we'll get that started. And then Justine?
Thanks so much. So Philip and I think Peter it was. Yep. So good job and good presentation. Something made me perk up when you talked about that heart run and about them having to have a different route next year. Please know, and I don't know how close it is, but I think it's going to affect a lot of different runs that usually run through Battery Park City. Battery Park and Wagner Park and south of Battery Park City, unless something changes, it is going to be closed starting in August, and go for two years, which we all know is probably going to be 3 years. And so at the moment, I'm going under the assumption that it's closing, which means that any runs through Battery Park City will be rerouted. And being on the Battery Park City Committee, I'm well aware that there are a lot of runs that come through here. So I don't know where they're going to go, how it's going to affect construction, but that is really something to pay attention to as you're speaking to different groups or having them come up. And just as a radar, to keep on your radar to say, hey guys, remember that this is closing. So what impact is it going to have on us and the rest of the city?
And Justine, why don't you shoot Tammy and Lucian and myself an email CCing, all of us, and let's start that discussion early because it is construction. And so
Yeah.
it would be in this committee and we, I don't know what other committees it will also affect, but we need to discuss early and often.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's going to matter, right? So
Exactly.
thank you. So it is construction. So that topic could come to you too.
Who's talking?
Me, Justine,
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry. If it's construction, yeah, it comes to quality of life.
All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else from DDC giving us any updates? That's it. Then thank you. All right. So
Thanks.
we, as far as I know, we then will ask you to come back in September. So we will not see you until then. And thank you. And be safe and enjoy your holidays and your summer.
Thank you, Pat.
And if there's anything that comes up, Lucian will get a hold of you guys. All right.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you then.
Thank you. Are you staying around for the detention complex project? Anyone? If not, we'll see you.
See ya, Pat.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
All righty. So last topic, and then don't run off because I, again, want to talk about whether we're having a meeting next month and also see if Desi wants to ask us any questions since she's new. Is there anybody that's joined us that's new to our committee? I don't know if anyone else has been assigned new to our committee. Okay. So who's here from the detention complex demolition project? Anyone?
Hi, yep. Hi, this is Laura Messier with the AHJP.
Hi.
CDC, and we have a number of people here with us tonight. Sasha Ginsburg will be presenting with me, as will Joe Castaldo from Gramercy, and I'll be handing over
Great.
to them, and I will share my screen.
How are you all tonight?
We're doing well. How are you? Thanks.
We're hanging in there. Thank you.
Great. Well, it's nice to see everyone's face on screen tonight. So thank you all for sharing your cameras.
Great. So where are we? Let's start it.
Let's start it. All right, let me share my screen. We'll pull up the slides and we'll get going. Let me put this into full screen mode. All right, is that working for everyone? Everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So we're here tonight. This presentation tonight will be focused on dismantle project updates. Again, similar to the other DDC infrastructure projects, we have committed to coming back to this committee and presenting to CB1 on a bi-monthly basis. And we'll be providing, updates as we go with what's happening, on the ground with construction, as well as what you can expect to see coming up, in the next couple of months on the site. So that covers our meeting purpose. So I'll go through quickly a schedule update like we always do. We'll touch on community engagement and resources. We do have an updated phone number for our CCL tonight, just highlighting that for everyone. And we have that updated on our website as well. And then I will turn it over to Joe from Gramercy to go through the detailed dismantle updates, what's expected on the project. All right, someone is requesting to annotate the content. I'm going to click decline. No annotations, please. And then we will open it up for Q&A to the group. All right, Sasha, do you want to situate us and give an update on the broader context of the program?
Absolutely. And I will be quick, given that I know that everyone has likely seen this slide. My name is Sasha Ginsburg, and I'm the Executive Director of the Borough-Based Jail System at DOC, and this is just to orient us in the larger program of the Borough-Based Jails. We are closing Rikers in building the Borough-Based Jail System. We are replacing Rikers Island with a smaller, safer, and fairer system that will provide housing for a total of 3,300 people, which requires 3,544 beds to allow DOC to maintain operational flexibility. As we've previously discussed, this is a massive shrinking of our current jail capacity. We currently have around 9,000 jail beds in New York City, and after this project, we will have 3,544, and we are also going from operating 8 facilities to operating only these 4. And very importantly, these new facilities will have a continued focus on reentry and culture change, and be radically humane facilities for both staff and for the people who are incarcerated therein.
Thanks, Sasha.
And I'll hand it back to you, Lauren. Yeah.
All right, for our overall schedule update, again, as a reminder to everyone, this schedule and what you're seeing before you, this is part of our objective to enable the city to close Rikers by 2027. And so we do need to have the new facility designed and constructed and complete substantially by 2027. So that's reflected here in what you're seeing. So our design build team for the dismantle and the construction of the interim Sallyport, they are well underway. The interim Sallyport construction is ongoing. That's going to continue through August of this year. We expect the dismantle of the existing facilities to be complete by the second quarter of 2023. And as a reminder to everyone, the facility design and construction will be done by a separate team. So we're currently in procurement right now, assessing bids from the teams in order to select the team that will be onboarded by the first quarter of 2023. So at the start of the new year, we should have that team. We'll be able to bring them here. We are also planning for a period of community design input on the design of the new facility. So again, once we've got that new design build team onboarded, we'll be bringing them to the community board, to the public, and arranging some sessions to have the community be able to weigh in on design options for the new facility. This is a snapshot of community engagement and a listing of the recent touch points we've had with the community and the different topics that we've been discussing. So these are ongoing. Our touch points will continue with this community throughout design and construction. We are actively working with City Hall to try to reinstate and re-engage with the Neighborhood Advisory Committee. So that is in progress, trying to get that group back up and running. We know a lot of folks here tonight are anxious to see that happen. We're right there with you, so we're working on that. We will continue to do, as I just said, bi-monthly community board presentations to this group throughout construction, so that you're always updated with construction activities. And we do a little bit more intermittently, but we do hold briefings with Chinatown stakeholders. Our presentations will be available in Chinese. This presentation will be posted following this meeting on our website, and we'll have both an English version and a Chinese version to make sure that we're, kind of covering our bases with this community and making the information available to everyone. Stuff here on this slide. So these are resources that are available even in between these touch points when we're here to actually present to all of you. You can still get information via our website, our CCL. I think everyone here is familiar with her, Pauline Chan. She has an office at 110 Walker Street. She has a designated phone number for this project highlighted here on this slide. So we do have a new phone number for her. The old number, if anyone forgets, like over the next couple of weeks, it does still work, but we're transferring over to a new phone. So this number is going to be updated on our website. We have it updated in this slide. Pauline is updating her PIC, the project information card. So we'll be sending this out to the neighborhood notification list via email. We'll be posting this around the neighborhood. So we'll do everything we can to get the word out. If any of you can help also, talk to your friends and neighbors, we want to make sure everybody has a way to contact her. Her email address is the same. And again, she does have a storefront at Walker Street. It's just a block from the construction site. So anyone can stop by during those business hours. And she sends out weekly advisories about upcoming construction activities for the week. And we also, in the event of any impactful construction activities, we are committed to sending out advisories 72 hours in advance. We also, as a new update for this group, I know everyone is very anxious about environmental monitoring and what we're doing on the site. So we have created fact sheets. They're a bit dense and there's a lot of information. So rather than go through them tonight in detail in this presentation, we do have them available on the website. The link is here on this slide. We can have someone put it in the chat for the group. So these fact sheets, they're, they don't go through every single point, but they do provide a pretty good overview of what we're doing for noise monitoring, vibration monitoring, and air quality monitoring on the site. They give information about what it is that we're actually monitoring, how this work is being conducted, what the different thresholds are that trigger action levels for the team. So it's questions that we've been getting in from the community. Thank you all for your patience as we've been finalizing our plans for the environmental monitoring. So as these get underway, we do want to share this information out. So these fact sheets will live on our website. These are meant to be supplementing the quarterly monitoring reports that we'll issue out and share publicly with the community. We'll also be providing updates, as the dismantle work gets underway and we're issuing these quarterly monitoring reports. We will provide updates on what the content is in those reports to the community. So these are just standalone supplements that give kind of an overview to community members. If you have any questions as you're reviewing this information, as I said, you can certainly ask them here during these meetings, but Pauline is also available to field all questions and more detailed information about the monitoring reports, and she can help get information out to everyone. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joe from Gramercy, who's going to run through the dismantle updates. Joe, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. As Lauren said, my name is Joe Castaldo. I'm the project executive from Gramercy for the Manhattan Detention Center project, and I'm here to give an update on the dismantlement. Next slide. So early on in the project, we did a number of structural and environmental probes and site assessments within the buildings. Recently, we've done a number of pre-construction surveys in adjoining properties, and we are in the process of getting access to other properties around this job site to do our pre-construction surveys. So we anticipate that work being done within the next few weeks. After that, we're going to start the interim Sallyport construction. We've been coordinating with local utilities such as Con Ed and the DEP. The DEP actually has to do some sewer work adjacent to the Sallyport, and once they're done, our foundations will begin. We're looking for the foundation work to start sometime in early July. Mobilization, obviously, you see us there. We've mobilized to the site. Our site fence is up. We've mobilized our field offices, and work continues. We're doing work on the interior of both buildings. This includes abatement work in the North Tower and abatement work in the South Tower, which is going to start shortly, as well as some make-ready spaces in the courthouse on Center Street. And that work is anticipated to go probably through the end of this year. The dismantlement work. The dismantlement work will start with some removals on White Street. We have the White Street Bridge connecting the two towers, which will be followed by the gymnasium demolition on Baxter Street. And then by that time, we will be erecting scaffolding for the north and south tower. Next slide. This is our site layout as in phase one, as we call it, which is a phase for us to construct the Sally Port on Center Street. We started a few months ago right here on Baxter Street by constructing this new crosswalk, which allowed us to shut the sidewalk on Baxter Street adjacent to the North Tower. We also have our site fence up along Center Street, and White Street is now closed. We have a site fence, on Center Street adjacent to where the Sally Port is being constructed. Once the Sally Port is constructed and in service, the barriers and the fencing that are in the parking lane at Center Street will be removed, and we will complete fencing along the South Tower and install our sidewalk shed. Next slide. So as I was discussing on the previous slide, this is a layout once the Sally Port work is complete and our sidewalk shed is erected along the South Tower and North Tower, and the fencing is complete. And same thing on Baxter Street. The site fencing will be extended to the end of the South Tower. Next slide. This is a few photographs of the progress on site. Our site fence in the Sally Port area is erected. Also the site fence along Center Street in front of the North Tower. And here's a photo of the fencing along Baxter Street in front of the Chung Pak area, which we've coordinated with ownership at Chung Pak for a configuration that was satisfactory to them. Next slide. Rodent and pest control is ongoing. Our bait traps have been installed and they're being monitored monthly. These are all within our site fence. It's not exposed to the public. So this is just going to be ongoing throughout the project, and we will, monitor its effectiveness and adjust as necessary. Next slide. Environmental monitoring updates. We have two plans that were submitted. One is for an MTA monitoring plan for the subway tunnel along Center Street. That was accepted, and the monitors are actually installed in the MTA subway and are currently working. The second plan, which would be for the community monitoring, has been in progress for a while, and hopefully a final version of it was submitted recently. Once that is accepted, we could go out and start, we'll do our baseline readings first, and before any demolition work commences, we'll install our vibration monitors on the surrounding buildings, and also our noise and air quality monitors on Baxter Street and on Center Street. The action levels, just so everyone knows, will be set at a value that's lower than the permissible exposure level. And we will get automated alarms if we approach the action level. And at that time, we will stop and look at the work we're doing and how it could be changed to bring down those levels. Maybe it's some additional dust mitigation that might be required. And the reason why we do it this way is obviously we don't ever want to get to the permissible exposure level. We want to, take action before we even get there. So the levels will be set at something much lower than what's permissible. Next slide. With that, I guess we'll open it up to questions.
Yeah, that's the end of the slides we had prepared for this. We can open up for questions. If the committee will permit me, the district manager, Lucian Reynolds, did a walkthrough yesterday with some members of the community board and some members from the community to field some, questions in advance. And I think we can actually run through some of those topics right off the bat, address some of the questions that we know folks have, and then open it up if that sounds okay for everybody.
John Albert and I don't remember Charlie's last name, right?
Charlie Lai?
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, are they here? Are you here? John and Charlie, are you here?
Do you want me to move them over as panelists?
Yes, please.
All right.
Thank you, Diana.
Great. Okay. Okay, just 1 second, Sariana.
Okay, so Charlie and John, you're here?
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Hi.
Thanks,
So
everybody.
I know Lucian told me that there was a walkthrough yesterday. So if you have any questions, please go ahead.
Well, Lucian made a whole list of things
Yeah.
that he wrote down. I don't have that. His son's 5th birthday is today, so happy birthday to him.
He isn't here tonight. Yeah.
He's not here.
I do have a list of questions. Sorry to interrupt you, John, but I have them here and could start running through some of those if that's helpful.
Yeah, I think that's more efficient if you go through those. I've got one
Sure.
CCTV centric question after this, but I think it's better if you read the list.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I'll go through these quickly and then we'll open it up to the floor.
Cool.
So the first one was in regards to the fencing, and actually let me, sorry, I stopped sharing my screen, but let me share it again because I think some of these slides will be helpful just so everyone can see what we're talking about. Oh no, I have it. Okay, so the first question, it's concerning this area where we have the fencing in front of the Chung Pak building, and actually this photo is perhaps more helpful. So one question was, behind the fencing, sort of on the wall here, is where there is a fire hydrant that FDNY may need access for the sprinkler system. And I think the concern was just making sure, this gate is here in the fencing. It's providing access for Chung Pak to be able to, put garbage and refuse out on the street as they normally do, even while the fencing is here, for sanitation pickup. And folks wanted to just make sure that FDNY does have the combination to that lock. And that they also know, in the event of emergency, if they're forgetting the combination or if there's any delay, they have permission to just cut the lock off. And so that is confirmed. We're in coordination with FDNY and with the agency to make sure that, things are smooth and we're not creating any hazards there. Another question that came up is concerning, it's a little tough to see in this photo, but there's the community fridge here that's located outside of the Chung Pak building. And then this gray door here is actually an egress coming out of Chung Pak, and then our construction fencing starts a little further south than that. And we understand that, sometimes with people queuing up for the fridge, there's been some incidents of, folks from the neighborhood just kind of relieving themselves, in this area and creating an inhospitable environment. And so, we've spoken with, internally with our project management team, with the contractor, and while we can't, I think Charlie was floating the idea of, could we extend the fencing past the door? I mean, we don't want to create a hazard. This is an egress from the building. We need to make sure that we keep that clear. We don't put fencing obstructing it. But we can increase, our security routine, our routes, and make sure that, security is passing by that area a bit more frequently. We're also open to, we have weekly meetings with Charlie and check-ins to talk about some of these issues as they arise. And so if there's other potential ideas or things that we can do to help mitigate that situation there, we're certainly open to it. And sorry, I can't seem to be showing my screen and pulling up my list of questions at the same time. So let me stop showing again. I can pull that back up if we need to refer to some slides. I think that gets us through the first two. Chung Pak was also wondering when, our contractors, we're working with them, and once dismantle activities start towards the end of the summer in more earnest, and, the building is actually coming down, we will be extending the existing sidewalk shed protection to go over the entrance to Chung Pak to provide some additional pedestrian safety. The question came up during the walkthrough yesterday about exactly when that's going to happen. So as we get a little bit closer and, dismantle activities start, we'll make sure that that sidewalk shed protection is up, prior to the commencement of dismantling the tower. We don't have an exact date for when that's going to happen yet, but we'll get it in place, before there is any pedestrian safety issue. What other questions did we have here? Charlie had a question about making sure that he's in the loop with any abatement activities. So if there are any abatement activities that are going to be impacting Chung Pak, again, we're in frequent communication with Charlie and Chung Pak. So anytime there's construction impacts that affect the building, we do communicate those upfront with Charlie. And then we had a series of questions, and I'm going to kind of group these together because I think they all stem from basically the same issue, which is we understand that, Center Street, there's a lot of congestion there with traffic congestion. We have DOC vehicles that are going in and out to access the Sally Port there. We now have, our primary construction access to the site is on Center Street. Again, we heard the community's request loud and clear to really try not to use Baxter Street only as sort of a backup route, and we try to primarily use Center Street to avoid impacting the local businesses on Baxter Street. So, and we know, there's some still illegal parking and there's double parking, and basically it's a congested area. So we've heard the concerns that have been raised loud and clear. Our construction crews do always have a flagger, as trucks are maneuvering in and out, if they have to make, some tricky turns in and out of the site, we have flaggers there for pedestrian safety. We understand the group has noted that they've seen some DOC buses coming in and out, that the community's observation is that those could also use a flagger. So we have communicated that to DOC. Again, the walkthrough just took place yesterday, so we haven't received a response back yet. Give us some time to make sure we connect with everybody. But again, we've elevated that issue and we've raised it up. And we do expect, once the interim Sally Port is in place, we will be actually able to alleviate some of those traffic congestion and obstructions. So bear with us a little bit. We understand, we hear the community's concerns. Safety is our top priority, and we'll do what we can. But thank you for flagging all of those issues.
And Lauren, just tell us again, when is the Sally Port going to be completed?
Joe, I believe your timeline is estimating that now early in the fall, right? We're thinking that's completed around October.
Yeah, we're looking at an October in service for the temporary Sally Port.
Okay, great. Yeah. John, sorry.
No, go ahead.
John?
Yes.
You said you had another question that wasn't on the list?
Yeah, hi. Say hi to Sariana. Say hi to the nice community board and to the people who are building the jail. Okay. So some of the concerns were that White Street is being used for staging. When you have a large vehicle, it drives into White Street and then backs up with the beep, 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 beep. Is this going to be the only way that big trucks are going to be able to get into the site?
You're referring to construction vehicles?
Yeah, there was every day there are a number of them, big semis that back into the site. Today there was one that went in around 10 o'clock in the morning, came halfway down White Street, right by DCTV, made quite a bit of noise, and then backed in. I understand the logistics is something that we can expect to have to deal with.
Joe, I'm going to speak to this in a bit more detail, but generally, yes, I mean, White Street, we have tried to make that the primary route for accessing the site rather than Baxter Street. Again, we heard at the beginning of the project a lot of community concerns about using Baxter Street because of the impact it would have on some of those local small businesses. So White Street is our primary route, and that's the primary entrance into the construction site.
Okay. So that's
just about to
sorry, so I want to give you, if you want to.
Also, I'm sorry, Joe, before you answer the rest of the question, just let everybody know the hours that construction is taking place.
Right now we're working from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m.
Okay, so John, 10 o'clock was within working hours.
Yes. So
7 to 1?
Yeah. I'm aware of that, and they do not start before 7, but around 7 o'clock I don't need to have an alarm, because the noise at the construction site comes to our building. So I'm just expressing to you the nature of the work that we do. We've got a movie theater there. Doesn't go well with what's going on White Street. We have classrooms upstairs for high school kids. Doesn't go well. We have production activities. All these things don't work well with the noise level, even in this less intensive construction stage.
Understood. And what I was going to reiterate earlier is that we're trying to minimize Baxter Street, at the request of the community.
Right.
So that's going to require that trucks back up at some point. I mean, even if they pull into the yard to get out of the yard, they're going to have to back up. And, it is a DOT requirement to have that backup alarm. It's a safety issue.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm just letting you know the consequences on this. I'm not trying to sit on anybody on Baxter Street, but this is sitting directly on us. So you sent somebody over to DCTV They did a survey to look at the cracks and then left. I see on your chart there that you expressed that it's point. I don't know, are you going to be sharing this survey with us? How are we going to coordinate that with you? What I'd like not to do is to spend DCTV's money and duplicate what you're going to do. We have Musa Rutledge standing by to do this, but we don't need two test points sitting next to each other in the building. So is there somebody who will report back to us, coordinate this?
So the survey reports for the buildings that were complete were sent to the DDC early today. It took a little longer than expected, but they are in DDC's possession, and I will kind of, leave it to them on how they share that with everyone.
Yes, John, for the I can speak to that. So for the survey that was, I see Anil chiming in also. So for the survey that was completed for DCTV, we can share that with you. Just to make it clear to the board and to the community, the surveys that are being conducted in all of the properties, these do involve taking photographs inside of private properties. So what we're not doing is we're not going to be making all of these reports public and sharing them generally with the community board. We can share them with the individual property owners. We don't want to violate anyone's privacy. John, if you choose to share your survey with the broader community, that is up to you. But we will share yours with. That makes it clear.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I don't mind sharing the results of this with everybody in the neighborhood. It's fine.
Great.
No, I saw you unmuting. Did you want to add anything else, or did I cover it?
No, not really. I'm just gonna say for optics, the captain's parking on the sidewalk is very bad optically. They parked there within 3 minutes of the trees going down. If you want to present a nice smiling face to the community, you wouldn't use up that space that people need to walk on for these guys to park there.
Okay, great. Thanks, John. I'm going to move on because we have a lot of questions.
Appreciate it. Thanks a
okay?
lot. Yeah,
You're welcome. You're
You bet.
welcome. Please come, every time they're presenting, come.
Always
your
here.
question.
I'm going to be in Ushuaia, Argentina next week.
Enjoy.
Wants me to bring them back from the southernmost city in the world. Just let me know what you want. I can bring you back some glacial ice before it all melts.
Thanks. We'll talk.
See you later. Bye.
All right, so we have a lot of hands. Let's start with Alice, Mitch, Justine, Charles. I saw Vera in that order. I saw Rosa, Andrea.
All right. For the record, as you all know, this community board is, and our council member currently are vehemently opposed to this project, feel it is a tremendously wasteful and destructive to the neighborhood. That said, we are moving along as we see, and who knows what the next step will provide. And I guess you're trying to fill us in on that, and we appreciate it. So in the last meeting in April of this committee, we had a number of requests for items that, as of today, we have not yet received. The community board is also on record having asked, but not received, the request to not have to go through FOIL, but in fact, we have not been able to not go through FOIL, so we FOILed for many documents. And I will ask that this gets followed up with, as you have done in the past, which we thank you for, as soon as possible. So we did receive, out of the 14 items we asked for, we did receive a few. What's outstanding, and let us know here tonight if this is something you cannot provide. The survey results, which you've just described, you cannot, obviously, if they're private, give them out, but there are on the landmark and landmark eligible buildings, so you've answered that. The construction protection plan for the historic buildings for the criminal court and prison at 100 Center Street, as approved by the New York City Landmarks Commission. Is this still something that we have to continue to request for as a FOIL? I'm not sure who I'm addressing that question to, but Lauren, maybe.
Sure, I can answer. We do ask, things do need to go through the FOIL process. And just to clarify, we're not trying to be difficult or, hold the community up in that way of getting information. It is part of, the broader legal process of the program and making sure that we track and we understand what information has been shared out, that it's logged correctly. So I do understand it's trying everyone's patience. We appreciate your patience with this. So that's why documents do need to go through the FOIL process. So we'll check back in, Alice. I appreciate you keeping tabs on this. You know, we'll check back in with DGC's FOIL group and see where that one is at. I do just want to say, I know it's a long list, and just for the record, so some of the documents, because I think the community board had submitted a request to me previously, like, hey, we want to get all these documents FOIL or not. And we had responded back and said, yes, FOIL for these. And I had clarified for some of them, just making sure you have the correct name of like what document it is you should be requesting. So at the time, I think that was back in February, some of those, you know, we're providing you with the name of the document you need to request. They weren't all submitted by the contractor, approved, finalized, reviewed by all the appropriate city agencies yet at the time. And we can't share reports out until after they've gone through that whole process. They've been reviewed, they've been approved, and they're ready to then be sent out. So that's why some of these things seem to be taking an inordinately long period of time, but it's just part of the review process. So bear with us. You know, we are making sure that that continues to go through, you know, the appropriate channels.
Right. So, I mean, the construction protection plan for the historic buildings and the historic American building survey of the criminal court and prison are essential to have prior to dismantlement. I think you would all agree. You are taking down a state and national registered building. It is a criminal thing to do. It is an unfortunate thing to do. But if it has to be done, the 3 towers that remain of the courthouse, still not landmarked, should certainly be protected, and the community should be very well apprised as to how. So I would really like to have specific information as to when those particular documents can be received. Moving on into the environmental, I'd like to ask, and I think I've mentioned it before, but if we could schedule, and this will take offline, a time for you to come to our Environmental Protection Committee to address specifically the concerns on the environmental impacts and remediation, and have a discussion on that. And in the work you're doing now, it's a little unclear. So have you received the state permit approval for the asbestos removal for 124 and 125 White Street? Is that done, or where are you at with the asbestos removal?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have our permits from the EPA, yes.
And has that work been completed?
It's ongoing. The majority of the work in the North Tower is near completion, and South Tower is starting shortly.
And are there air monitors up in this area that are tracing anything?
Yes.
Or is there any kind of, what kinds of remediation are being done?
Well, all the remediation work is done in containment under negative air pressure. And there's a third-party monitor that's supplied to oversee the work.
Yeah, well, so we need some real clarity on that. So where do we get to see the plans for what this third party proposed to do and what results have occurred? I mean, there's been no information given to the community, and that's a pretty, you know, dangerous part of the environment, is putting asbestos out there. So is there some way that we can have these documents to look at them over? We're all very sensitive to environmental impacts, and I'm sure you all know about 250 Water Street, a site where there was a former mercury factory. And that's been handled recently quite well by having the environmental impacts reviewed by an independent monitor, something we've asked for at this site too, which I think really should be something that we receive. So in that case, we do receive all the documents that we asked for to review. And is that something that you can provide this third party? I guess is this the AirTech group? Is that the group you're working with?
Anil, maybe you can
Yes,
speak to that.
yes, that is correct, AirTech.
So can we get the AirTech documents? I assume these are public documents. Is that something we're going to need to FOIL for also, or could we have these? I think that the neighbors and the people who live in this area and visit it really need to know what the, you know, potential problems are.
So again, I know it's going to be frustrating to hear, but we do request that you FOIL for specific plans. Again, it's part of a broader sort of document processing that we have on this program. So please.
Okay. Well, for the record, we did, Laura, just so you know, in April, request for asbestos and asbestos remediation plans from DGC/AirTech. So it would be great if you could help us get those a little bit, you know, moving along a little bit more quickly.
Okay, I'll keep following up on that. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks very much. And then we had also asked for the complete results from all the site borings. So I guess what's going to just come from this is that we're going to be told we have to FOIL. So I'm going to provide a list. I'll copy everyone. So we all have a copy of what we're still waiting for. And I'm going to ask that if you could help us to get these documents so that we can have something for the community to work with. It's really become very difficult, and things are imminent and coming down, and you're in the middle of now having the approval to remove the asbestos, yet we don't know what prevents us from breathing it in. So that's important. Lastly, well, there's quite a few other things, but I won't, belabor it. But the NAC seems to be sort of elusive, and I saw that you've addressed it. But, at this point, I mean, I guess I'm a little confused, but don't you have already hired or are working with Gilbane Building Company and Alberici. So they had an RFP as of last January. So at what point does the community become involved with them to review what they're up to, allegedly this was supposed to be a collaborative process. In fact, that's in the correctional newspaper from January, saying it would be a collaborative process with the city to ensure the project and the technical goals are met. But yet the community isn't engaged at all with them. Is there some ability to be able to engage with them to see what's coming down the pike?
Yes, and that's what I was referring to on the early schedule slide. So we don't yet have a selected design builder onboarded. So there isn't someone who's been onboarded. They have not yet received their notice to proceed. Once that happens and the design process begins in earnest, we'll be doing a period of design input sessions with the community. And we are linking, kind of tying these in terms of broad schedule to make sure that we are coming to the community before we submit to PDC for conceptual review, before we submit to PDC for preliminary review. So before there are these design milestones and benchmarks that'll be happening, we'll be having periods of design input and feedback review with the community. So that's going to be happening. Again, I know that this, the fact that it's a separate design build team, we don't yet have them on board, has been kind of a sticking point. And I know it's frustrating. So bear with us a little bit longer. Again, around the start of the new year, once they've been onboarded, they've got their NTP. We'll be setting up those sessions. We'll introducing this team to the community, talking through what this design process is going to look like and giving everybody a bit more information.
When did you receive the final RFP submission from Gilbane Building and Alberici? Approximately.
I don't think we've received the final submission yet, but I would actually like to have someone from the procurement team speak to that. Mercy,
That's correct, Lauren. We haven't received the final package.
Yeah.
And when do you expect to receive it?
Sometime later on this year.
I'm sorry, say that again?
At the tail end of the year, we should have the final.
Tail end of the year, okay. And is there any reason that the RFP itself, the complete RFP, is not, can the public see that document?
No, they can't see it. This is Nick from DDC. The way the process works with these design build procurements, the public part of the documentation is the request for qualifications that goes out to the public and contractors that can look at it and decide to participate in the process. The second step, the RFP with the proposal, contains all the different proprietary information that's only goes to the shortlisted firms that have been chosen through the first step of the process, so that RFP isn't available publicly.
Okay, thanks very much for the answer. So I'm going to follow up, as I said, with all of the FOIL requests that we have, and it'd be great if we could hear from you as to when you think we could get them. And thanks very much, Pat, for the time.
Yeah,
Alice, one thing I would quickly add for the FOIL request about the air monitoring results, you might want to try DEP actually, because it's a very heavily regulated process and everything goes to them. So, our air monitors just submit everything to them. They're the ones who give the ultimate sign off on everything being done right and the air being proper. So,
and who will respond to our request, the community boards and our council members' request for this independent monitor to begin, to consider working with us in the community to review, the demolition and construction going forward? Is that something that's being entertained at all, or is there a response being considered? And who would we be asking for the response?
There is an independent one, again, for the asbestos abatement work that's going on, but again, that's separate from what we're referring to as the community air monitoring plan. That's for the broader dismantle project. And that is being done through, Gramercy has contracted a subcontractor who's going to be doing that. So we're not setting up, outside of that, another independent monitor, but that's the stuff that we're recording, and we're going to be submitting the results to the community in our quarterly monitoring reports and sharing updates.
I've got
So-
to stop you,
so
Alex,
the
'cause
key-
we've got a lot of people.
Yeah, okay, all right, well, we'll follow up again at environmental protection. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thanks. Mitch, you're next.
Okay, just two simple things. I was doing some shopping in Chinatown the other day and walked along Baxter Street, and I know that the person was saying that they were trying not to impact some of the small businesses. I noted just the block from Canal Street, and then going a little south, there's on the west side of the street there was a pharmacy, a neighborhood pharmacy, Metro Plus, I think, and then a couple of small restaurants on that side of the street. I see them boarded up. I'm just wondering if that's just coincidental, but because they were doing business right before this, or that's something that had to be done because of this. And I was just wondering if there was any accommodations made on their behalf from this this group. So that's my first question.
Sure. You said you were referring to businesses on Canal Street.
No, on Baxter Street, from like between Canal and then whatever the block, going south from Canal going down towards the prison. There was a couple of businesses there on the west side of the street where you have there was a pharmacy, and then there was a couple of small restaurants. Immediately across, there's an Italian restaurant on the other side of the street, and then there's some Vietnamese restaurants. And then across the street, there was a pharmacy and a couple of Chinese restaurants, small ones that have been boarded up since the construction. And I was wondering if, I'm assuming it's due to the construction, if there were any accommodations made on their behalf.
So it sounds like you're referring to Baxter between maybe Walker and Canal, which wouldn't be due to any direct impacts from the construction project. So I will say we did have SPS, the Department of Small Business Services. We've been working with them to understand what resources are available to community members and local businesses throughout the process. Our CCL and members from DDC and members from SPS all went together throughout February and March and did businesses. We made appointments with all the local businesses on the block surrounding the site, went door to door, again, with the small business service representatives to have conversations with them about the anticipated impacts, to share resources that are available to small businesses throughout this process and ways that they can get in touch and get more information. So we've really been extending what we can from the city to help businesses through this time.
I think, okay, first of all, I'm almost sure that there was an impact that those businesses had to be closed down because there's like one lane, so there's no stopping on Baxter Street over there. So nobody could stop and even drop people off because there's one lane, because you have the everything else boarded up right around there. So I'm not sure, no disrespect, but I don't totally believe the answer, number one. Number two, you were talking, I think you guys were talking about the artwork previously, and I took a chance to look at some of the stone sculptures like that were into the walls, like on there was some musicians and dancers with instruments and other neighborhood type of stone sculpture. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you guys said that be trying to take it down without destroying it, but just as a layman looking at it, I don't know how it could be taken down without being destroyed. So the stone sculptures I'm talking about, there's some with musicians and dancers and drums and other things there.
I
Are
hate
you
to
familiar with?
interrupt you about this, but that is not part of our scope. That is already it's been discussed. I don't remember which committee it is, but it isn't ours.
But does she have some information about that? Because if it's the same group, Pat, they told us that it would be, everything was organized to be taken down in a preservation type way.
No, there
And
were
what
two pieces that were going to be lost as far as we knew.
Okay.
Okay. Anything
Thank
else?
you.
So sorry, just to go back to your earlier question, because I certainly did not intend to be misleading. It's just a little hard as I'm a very visual person, so without a map that we're like pointing to and saying these businesses.
Sure, I understand.
I may have
Metro Pharmacy is one that
Sure.
like, I don't know the name, but Metro Pharmacy has been open for years. So maybe it's a coincidence, but I was referring to that.
So there were some businesses who were part of the Chung Pak complex and whose leases were managed by Chung Pak and DCAS that were relocated prior to the start of this process and the project, and that was a deal that was negotiated with those businesses. So
Okay.
that might be, but I don't want to speak too much to it because I'm not sure.
That's
we're
okay. But
same
they're good. They're
location,
good
so-
people. The people at that pharmacy were good people. So I was just curious about that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. If you want some more information, again, please feel free to email our CCL, our construction liaison, and
No,
maybe
that's okay. That's okay.
understand the exact location. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mitch and Alice, put your hands down, please.
Yes, I will do that now.
Justine?
I was going to speak because Edward Kuchia was not on, but he's on now, so I'll let him speak what he was going to speak about. I just would like to reiterate, he's in the attendee section, so you'll get to him. I just want to reiterate what Alice said at the beginning of her statement. The community has been so much against this, and I know that's not the topic, and I'm not going to go on, but I need to make it and make sure that it's said again, that there's other opportunities and other options that should have been explored. I'm really happy to see in the news that Chris Marte is pursuing some other options. And yeah, that's it. Everybody else is holding you all accountable as the process is going. So I appreciate that. And that's very important. But
thanks, Justine.
That's what I got to say. Thank you.
Okay. Charles? 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 One last call. Okay, Charles isn't answering. We can circle back. Vera?
Hi, Pat.
How you
Okay,
doing?
just a bunch of questions. Have all the surveys of the surrounding buildings been complete yet? And have they been done, or are you still waiting to do more?
No, that's still ongoing.
I'm sorry?
It's ongoing. We're still coordinating with some property owners for access, so it's an ongoing process that we're hoping to complete within the next few weeks.
Okay, and how about the access agreement with Chung Pak? Has that been signed up yet?
That's ongoing as well.
Yeah, and as we've stated in past meetings, Vera, we're not here to speak about that access agreement.
I'm sorry?
We're not here to, speak about details about the access agreement.
No, I'm simply asking, has it been signed yet? No, right? Okay. Question, when do you expect to get the demolition permits?
Demolition permits have been filed for. We've issued drawings to the DOB. They've come back with some comments, and they're in our court now to address those comments. Seem to be stuff that we could easily respond to, and they should be going back in shortly.
Okay, so do you have an anticipated date as to when you'll be obtaining the actual permits?
I don't have an exact date, but we're hoping within the next month or so.
Okay, the sidewalk shed, the permits, have they been obtained yet or not yet?
Similar to the full demolition permit, we've created our designs and our drawings, and they're in the DOB's hands.
Okay, and when do you expect to be able to get those permits?
A similar timeline.
Which was what, in about a month or so?
Yes. Obviously, it depends on, the review time and comments that we receive back, and, there's a couple of factors.
Okay, now, I remember there was going to be a crane. Do you have plans filed as for the crane and approvals for that? And if not, when do you expect that?
So we finalized a design package for the crane, and again, that's also with the DOB for review.
Okay, and do you have an anticipated date as to when that will be approved?
It all depends on their review time again, but we're hoping that it gets approved on the first time around. That's not always the case. It usually comes back with comments that we have to address. And
Okay, so about a few months away, you think?
yeah, yep.
All right, and when you get those, will you be able to share those with us, or is this, Lauren, something we have to foil?
Yeah, please submit a FOIL request.
Okay, Mitch mentioned artwork. I just wanted to know the timeline as to when the artwork is going to be removed. Richard Haas's murals and Kitten Schneider sculptures. When is that going to be removed?
So we anticipate that, upcoming sometime in the next few weeks. We don't have an exact time frame for it. We are working, with an art conservator to make sure that we have appropriate ways of storing the artwork that needs to be stored and dismantling things in the appropriate way. So it's
Yeah, we're working on creating and lifting means and methods with the art conservator, so that's ongoing right now.
And then the artist will be notified, right, when you start to do this, correct?
I've been working with the artists throughout the process, so they're aware of what we're doing. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And with respect to monitoring, you mentioned monitoring vibration, air, noise. The plans, you're working on the plans now, correct? And the actual location of these monitors, will those be shared with us? Because as you know, that's particularly important as to where they are placed in order to be able to get accurate readings. Will those be shared with us?
Yeah, I think once we have the plans have all been finalized and approved, when we come back the next time, we can have some slides that show the location of the plans around the site, or the location of the monitors on the site. Yes.
Okay, so you think plans would be within the next few months, 2 months, is that it? You'll have plans or when will they actually be placed? The monitors.
So the plans were recently completed and submitted to DDC. So in the review process, if I had to anticipate, I would say probably 2 months.
Okay. So everything's like about in a couple of months here, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then just a comment, you mentioned that there's flaggers. I walk by the site. I think I walk by the site 3 to 4 to, let's see, no, 4 to 5 times a week. Around usually 10 or so in the morning. There's a lot of DOC vans, at least 3 one time on Center Street, 2 actual vehicles, and then at least 8 or so parking DOC vehicles there. So it's been for people walking back and forth and around there, it's been not exactly safe. I, to be honest with you, I've not seen the flaggers there. Like you say, they are there. I'm just wondering if you can address that.
So, I've been to the site personally. I know when Gramercy trucks are coming in and out, we have flaggers there. Our crew has been instructed on numerous occasions, pretty much every morning. We've stressed the importance of that. The DOC buses are kind of outside of our control. And I know
Okay.
Laura said earlier that she's made a recommendation to them.
All right, so Lauren, you will try to coordinate with DOC with respect to that because it was really bad on the walkthrough the other day with Lucian, and then even worse on a particular day. I have photos. And then finally, just a quick comment. In the beginning, you always begin your updates saying that the current detention population is 5,500 right now. I mean, is that number hasn't changed? It's the same since the last 2 or 3 presentations you've given updates for us, or is that just a number you keep on repeating? Has that number gone up or down? Can you update that for us?
Sorry, giving Sasha. Is Sasha still on? Sasha Ginsberg, are you here? If not, we'll loop back with DOC and confirm.
Yeah, if you can, just it would be great to have a more updated number because I think it's the same number I've seen constantly. Okay, thanks, Pat. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks, Vera. Okay, so Rosa, Andrea, and Diane Stein.
Thank you. I want to follow up on the air monitoring question. I was wondering if and I think I brought this up before. Our neighborhood has been severely impacted, as you heard probably from the first item that was up, with regards to 9/11 and the health impacts in our community with our residents. And that continues to this day, sadly. And so we are extremely sensitive about the health impacts of contaminants in the air. And so the air monitoring issue is incredibly important to us. I think obviously with a daycare and a senior center right next door, that's even more sensitive. And then, you know, again, with the fact that one of the few public recreation spaces that we have in the community is literally across the street. A lot of alarm bells are going off for a lot of us in the community. And so we need more than quarterly reporting on what is going on with the air around this site. And so we would like you to agree to something similar to what we have been able to establish at 250 Water. And I am not an expert in any of that by any means, but we have many people in the community board who have been extremely involved in all of that. And so I would just want to push for more information, frequent updates, I don't know, that's just critical to us, as you can hear from everything that's been going on at this meeting today, not even what has to do with your subject specifically. And then just as a side note, really annoyed to hear about people parking in areas where they should not be, especially when you guys came to us and committed to having your guys, you know, come in on public transit and not be parking and messing up with the streets that are already very messed up because of this work. So would like to know that that was a real commitment and that you will keep with that. And that's to the Gramercy guys. Thank you.
I think just one clarification on that last point. You know, I know Gramercy is reiterating that with their folks. I think some of the comments that have been brought up tonight about parking where there shouldn't be, it's illegal parking in general that I was referring to earlier, you know, on Center Street that creates some congestion, and sometimes double parking was something that folks on the walkthrough yesterday flagged, and that's just from, you know, everyday people. It's not specific to anything that Gramercy is doing. So I don't think any of those issues that we were flagging earlier were specific to Gramercy or construction activities. And again, some folks did point out some issues with DOC vehicles, which again, we are coordinating with DOC to address those. So I don't think it was specific to Gramercy, and I know that they do strongly encourage everyone to commit to using public transportation. To the first point regarding the quarterly monitoring report. So again, we are committed to sharing the data with you. We are doing that on a quarterly basis in order to compile the data and get those out. I understand that at 250 Water, you're getting something that is more frequent than that. They are different sites though, and different concerns. You know, that's the site of a former mercury factory. So there's different environmental issues that are happening. Again, adverse impacts, you know, significant adverse impacts due to the construction activities on our site are not expected, you know, based on the assessment of the environmental impact statement. And so, you know, we are doing quarterly monitoring reports. That's not saying we're doing anything or taking anything lightly or easily. That's not the case. You know, we take the health and the safety of this community very seriously. It is of utmost importance to us. As Joe has stated, and as you've heard from Rich at Gramercy in past meetings, the monitoring is being done, you know, in real time, and Gramercy receives updates in real time immediately. You know, if anything even approaches thresholds that are set well below the permissible exposure levels. So they are alerted in real time before anything even comes close to the permissible exposure levels. And the protocol is to stop work immediately, figure out what's going on, what's causing that, and bring those levels back down before proceeding with work. So we'll be sharing all of that data with you again in the compiled quarterly monitoring reports, and you'll be able to see, you know, a summary of what happened in the past and what actions were then taken and how the team is mitigating those impacts.
That doesn't actually help the people in real time who are in the park right next door as these levels are getting elevated, right? To be able to make a decision for their own health and safety to perhaps leave that area.
So again, the action levels are set below permissible exposure levels. So work will stop.
Right, but just because you stop the work doesn't mean that it's immediately going to go down or not keep going up, because you haven't figured out what it is precisely that's causing the elevated levels, right? You just have an alarm that says you're going in the wrong direction. You need to look at this and pay attention. But that is still not a guarantee that the levels of, you know, whatever may be in the air are not unsafe for the community. Right. And honestly, when you consider what the cost of this project is, which is in the billions of dollars, it seems absurd to me that if public safety and health is actually a priority, that you cannot pay for and have actual monitoring in real time that would give the population that lives and works around there an opportunity to make a decision based on elevated levels of whatever the contaminants are. Like what? How many billions of dollars does this project cost? And you can't give us daily monitoring? Like
So
that's
we are,
absurd.
to be very clear for everyone, we are doing daily monitoring in real time. What we're talking about on the quarterly basis is how we're compiling everything, putting it into a report format, making sure it's, you know, legible and getting it out to the public. So that's happening on a quarterly basis.
We would prefer actual information in real time so that we can make safe decisions for us rather than a really pretty looking report on a quarterly basis. I mean, if we're going to prioritize health and safety, that would be more functionally useful to us as a community.
Okay, so the monitoring is being done in real time and alerts are sent to Gramercy. And to be very clear, work stops when they hit the thresholds that are below the permissible exposure levels. Means work stops and cannot continue. So it will actually address the air quality issue, and then mitigation efforts are put into place.
Let me ask you, Lauren, when the work stops, if there are people sitting outside, do you warn them that they should leave the area? How does it?
So let me just reiterate, the action level, which makes us stop the work, is well below what the EPA defines as a permissible exposure level. So we're giving ourselves a lot of wiggle room. I know someone mentioned, well, what happens if it keeps climbing? Our action level is pretty much half of what is allowable. So we're giving us plenty of room to stop the work and make the adjustment before it ever gets to a point that the EPA says this is your maximum permissible level. So
you
even
cannot
then what
guarantee that
happens,
it will
though?
not keep rising. Just because you stop work doesn't
Right.
mean that you
I'm
have.
sorry. Let me just interrupt you for a second. So after you stop the work, what's the next step? So then you try to investigate to find out why it was going up.
exactly.
And then what happens when you find out what the problem is? You mitigate it. But in the meantime, if it's something that you can't, I don't know if there's a situation where it's something that you can't stop from the level rising. Do you then evacuate the area? What I think that's what Rose is trying to get to, is that how do you let people know when it's unsafe to be in that area? Not your workers, the community.
No, understood. And I believe that's what the community liaison would be for, but that we're going to adjust our methods before it ever approaches that level. So again, our action levels are set to half of what is permissible. So I don't understand when we get a notification and we stop the work. I really think there's a very low risk of the air quality continuing to rise when the work has already stopped. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's definitely right. The air quality would get bad based on actions that they're taking. If they're smashing up a wall or destroying something, then once they triggered their monitors, then they would stop and the hazardous condition would stop.
Pat, can I just jump in? I would just suggest that we do what was done at 250 Water Street, which is simply to have the daily updates that you are doing put on the website, whatever the website, the Rikers Island website, oddly being the website for the borough-based jail. But in any case, I would recommend that we agree to do that.
Okay, first of all, I think we should write a reso. Secondly, Lauren, is that possible? Is that doable? Will you do that? Can you do that?
So again, the commitment in the plan that we have in place for this project is to issue the quarterly monitoring reports. We are hearing this feedback, you know, we'll take it back, but what we're moving forward with is the quarterly reporting.
Okay, so I think we're beating a dead horse. We'll have to talk. The committee will have to have a discussion. All right, thank you. Rosa, any other
Yes,
questions?
thank you so much for your patience on this issue. I'm super duper concerned, and Lauren, these answers are just not acceptable for the safety of our community that has already been traumatized so much on this specific issue, truly. And you know, I don't imagine that you would feel comfortable sitting there yourself in that park and playground area all day. You know, it's just it's not right.
All right, so we'll continue that discussion. Thanks, Rosa. So it's Charles. You actually, we called you. Are you here now?
Charles, Charles, do you want to try your mic one more time? If not, I have his question to read out. Yeah,
Charles, if you
Charles's
log
mic
out,
is not working, but I have
or
his
Charles can
comments
log
here.
out and log back in and see if it works. And as soon as you log back in, I'll call on you. Charles?
Charles, you can try logging out and logging back in. Pat, if that still doesn't work, I can read out his question.
Okay, but Charles, try logging out and coming back on. In the meantime, I will move on to Andrea.
Hi. This is a general question. I work across the street, at 139 Center. I've been there since 2018, and there really has been no communication, to the community about what's going on. That's why I joined the community board in the first place. So when you say that you want to engage community going forward with like design plan and everything like that, how are you actually going to reach the community when I'm actually directly across the street and I'm pretty with it? I don't have, an English, language barrier access. I'm internet savvy. How are you actually going to solicit community input into, what's going on, the design process, and how this is going to impact, everyone around, the area? Because what's been done is completely insufficient.
Okay, Andrea, may I ask, are you on our neighborhood notification list? Because we do send out updates on a weekly basis to everyone on that list. If you're not, please put your information in the chat, or you can send it to our community construction liaison. Her contact information is available on our website. It was in the presentation tonight. She has an office at 110 Walker Street that you're free to stop by anytime during business hours.
I understand all that, but
Okay,
the thing
so
is,
you send out,
I am not typical of the people who live and work around in the area. And the fact that if I cannot get the message, I'm concerned that there are tens of thousands of people who live and come and work on a daily basis. There are children next door in that Chung Pack building. They don't know what's going on. So how are you going to mitigate that? How are you going to, reach out to people? Because this is just done under the cover of, oh yeah, we reached out. But you know what? The outreach is it's not sufficient. Okay? And then my second question is, if everything is being done above board to guarantee our safety, our health of the community who live and work there, why don't you make the air quality, results transparent? If everything is going to be fine and all the levels are going to not reach any dangerous levels, make that information public. One report every quarter is completely insufficient, and it's just a joke. Why bother having it? It doesn't matter what happened, if you give me a report now of something that happened 3 months ago, the exposure and damage has already been done. You're next to a playground. There are hundreds and thousands of people who, thousands of people who are in the area every day. It's not fair to them. You're making that decision for them to say that, oh, we're doing a good thing. Don't worry, just trust us. How can, if we can trust you, then make it transparent. Make the information transparent. If you want trust, be transparent. Don't give us a report every quarter. That's not enough. You don't live down there. You don't work down there. You can say that, from the comfort of your office. So that's what I want to tell you.
Okay,
Quarterly
let
reports
Lauren-
are not sufficient.
Andrea, thank you. Let Lauren address this.
No, I just want to say thank you for sharing your thoughts. Again, we understand there's a lot of concerns in the community. We are taking this under advisement and under consideration. We'll bring it back to the team. We do intend to be transparent with the information, even if they are at a quarterly level. It's still sharing all of the data with the community, so it's not hiding information. The issue seems to be with the frequency that we'll be able to share that out, compile the reports, and get the information out. Again, we're hearing everyone's concerns tonight. We'll take that back. We'll make sure we're communicating it, the letter with the team. So we do thank you for coming tonight and sharing your thoughts. I do just want to make sure, back to my first question, are you on the neighborhood notification list?
No, I'm not, but I will sign up because I didn't know about it.
Okay, great. Great. We'll make sure we do that, and we do post notifications around the neighborhood. And I know Pauline Chan, our CCL. Pauline, if you want to go on camera and say hello. She does go around the neighborhood, whenever we have notifications to share out, 72 hours in advance of activity, she hands them out. She does door knocking. We also post them visibly around the neighborhood physically for people who, don't receive all the electronic information. So again, there's always room for improvement. We thank you for bringing that to our attention. We're always looking for ways that we can, do better and get the word out better. But we have, a number of channels and ways that we do share information. So thanks for sharing your feedback with us.
Also, Andrea, if you have any buildings or people that you think should be on the list, would you please send that to Lauren? And you can also send it to the community board office.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and just one more thing, just to also note, I know clearly, you do speak English very fluently, but for those, we understand there's a lot of people in the community who do not. And our CCO, Pauline Chen, she does speak, she's fluent in English, Mandarin, and Cantonese. So we also share information out, the presentation, all of our weekly notifications and advisories do go out in multiple languages for your neighbors as well. Thank you.
And that's it, Andrea, for you? Any other questions?
For now, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Did Charles log back in yet? If not, we're gonna go with Diane Stein.
I hadn't meant to raise my hand. I thought I had lowered it. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So I don't see Charles. Diana, do you wanna, I would like him to be online though to have
Yeah,
a question.
same. If I'm going to read his question, why don't we give him a minute? I saw that he logged off, so I'm assuming he is in the process of logging back on. Do you want to take one of the members of the public and we'll circle
Well,
back to
yeah,
Charles?
before I do that though, Pauline, if you wanted to go, we didn't hear whether you wanted to turn your camera on and introduce yourself to the committee and the public so they can see who you are. Pauline, is that something you wanted to do? I thought I saw you here.
Yes, can you see me?
Let me see.
Hi, Pat. Hi,
Oh, there you are.
everyone.
There you are. Hi. So everyone, this is Pauline, and she is the community liaison. So you see her. So in case you need to ask her any questions, you will recognize her in the community. And Pauline, would you like to just give the phone number again to everyone?
Yeah, sure. 1 second. Yeah, this is Pauline Chan, and I'm in 110 Walker Street. So I speak Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, and also English. Yeah, so nice to see everyone. You can feel free to stop by. And 1 second, my phone number here, 646-627-0963. And my email address is manhattanbbjccl@gmail.com. Thank you, Pat.
Pauline, perhaps you can also put all that information in the chat.
Sure.
Presentation earlier.
Okay, thank you, Lauren.
And Andrea is going to make sure she gets her contact information to you so that she can start receiving notifications. Okay? Thank you. Thank you both. All right. So if Charles is not back, then yes, we will take questions from the public.
All right, we'll give Charles a minute. I'm going to go to Howard. Howard, I sent you a request to unmute.
Actually, I was in the walkthrough with Lucien the other day. One of the comments I want to make is really a follow-up what Mitchell had said, and that is Baxter Street. That's a very narrow street, is a one-way street, and with the addition of the dining sheds on that street, it's actually a choke point. And I was wondering if you could put those dining sheds on your dismantled layout map to show that there's a choke point on that street. Because right now it looks like if that street is a lot wider than what it actually is, and it's not. It's extremely narrow, and you probably would have a hard time. Well, you definitely cannot stop it because you would just block all the traffic. But just getting in and out of the car if you had to. So we could do that. Also, I don't know, going in front of Chung Pak, the entrance. I know that's kind of a dead end if you keep on walking back toward the community refrigerator. And I was wondering if there could be a sign ahead of that so people don't walk into a dead end, because I know I did that a couple of times myself.
So if I could jump in and speak to the outdoor dining, all of our applications for permit, whether it be the DOT or DOB, accurately shows all of the outdoor dining areas. If the diagram tonight didn't show it, then we can definitely add it on the next meeting.
Right, that's my request. Yeah, because the diagram tonight did not show.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll
And
correct
then,
that.
I'm sorry, what was this about walking into a dead end?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going from Canal Street past Chung Pak toward the community refrigerator, if you think that you're gonna go keep on walking down the street, you actually walk into a kind of a dead end and have to kind of double back
So
around
is that,
around the fencing.
is there some sort of signage that can be put up or fencing
Yeah,
that can stop people from walking into the dead end?
right.
We
Yeah,
do
there should
have a
be.
sign that says sidewalk closed ahead. I mean, if we need to add signage, that's not that big of a deal. But there is a sign out there that says sidewalk closed ahead.
Might not be big enough. You might need to make it larger.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I was looking for something.
Okay. Thanks for letting us know. Any other questions?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Howard. Diana?
All right, Edward Cucci is next.
Oh, Edward's here. Hi, Edward. Edward?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can now.
Oh,
Hi.
perfect. There you go. Hi, how are you all? Good, well,
Okay.
good to be here and say hello to everyone. Couple of things. Let me give you the report from the trenches. For those who don't recall, my office is at 121 Walker. I'm in the Chung Pak building, and I'm the canary in the coal mine for a lot of these issues. First, and I should let the community know, Mickey and Minnie have come to visit my offices. I've been in that space for about 4 years or so now. And just in the last 2 or so months, I've been having mice problems. I've got lots of videos of the little guys jumping around. They're having a lot of fun. I've had to, unfortunately, pay for my own exterminator. So far, it's $600 and rising. The Chung Pak building has not reimbursed me. They have told me they are not willing to. Lovely. So there you go. There's that. And I'm sure that's a very healthy thing for me and my staff. Pauline, you used to come visit me more often. I know I gave you a hard time every time you'd come in. I recall that you came by around May the 4th, and I was making comments about Star Wars, comparing Gramercy to the Empire. But I think you're a big girl. You can take it. So please come by and visit with me. Yeah, I'm very concerned about the environmental impacts here. I'm afraid that when you start leaking asbestos all over, I'll be the first ones, my office staff will be the first ones to get it. I shouldn't just say my office staff. I live around the corner. I live on the corner of Canal and Mulberry, so I'm right there, both my home and my office. So yeah, I'm very heartened to note that when the environmental monitors go off and you're going to wait 2 or 3 months to tell everyone that there's a problem. I'm really, really heartened to hear that. I great faith in you folks. So thank you for that. And there you have it. So I'll keep everyone up and have a good day, all. Thank you.
Edward, to be fully transparent, I'm just going to jump in here regarding Pauline making personal visits to your office. She has, at our request, discontinued those. She started making personal visits. We heard you wanted to have in-person conversations with her in addition to her sharing out information via the NNN list. However, those conversations became personal attacks and they were inappropriate. So again, I've said this before in community meetings, it's not just you, it's happened with some other folks as well. Pauline, our staff, we are here to receive questions about this project. We are here to field complaints and issues. We understand there's a lot of concerns from this community. We're here for that. We are here to help you get answers and address those issues. We are not here to be personally attacked. It's not appropriate. So please, everyone, please treat people like professionals. They are a part of this community as well. Thank you.
Sounds great, Lauren. So since Pauline is afraid to come see me, will you be coming to see me weekly, monthly? Who's going to come visit me and tell me that you're poisoning me and my staff? Who's going to be telling me that?
You can receive information through the NNN list. We make all information available through the website, but I'm not sending any staff to receive personal attacks in person, Edward. I'm sorry.
Great. So then what I'll do is, since your offices are across the street from my office on Walker, I'll come by and visit. And I will ask if you're poisoning me and my staff. Is that okay?
You're welcome to visit the office. I'll be there on Friday. Please feel free to stop by.
Is that every Friday?
It's not every Friday. I will be there this Friday. Look forward.
I'll come visit you on Friday and I'll ask you in person if you're poisoning me and my staff. I don't think those are personal attacks, Lauren. I really don't. And Pauline, if you're really afraid of me, come on, seriously?
Edward, that's enough.
No, no,
Yeah.
Lauren, that's
Edward,
enough
Edward,
from you.
Edward, it's for questions, and right now, do you have a question? Edward?
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry, do you have a question for me? I'm happy to answer.
No, I'm saying, do you have a question for Lauren or everyone else who's here?
Well, yeah, sure. How about this one? Who's going to pay my exterminator? That's a question. Since the Gramercy's demolition has caused me to have mice.
Well, there's rodent mitigation going on in the buildings, isn't there?
This is an ill. There is rodent mitigation ongoing and are currently, yes.
So great, you guys are mitigating the rodents in your building, and they're coming to me. So I'll ask again, who's going to pay my exterminator?
Is this? I mean, I'm not sure I understand why the mice are the rest of the tenants in your building? Do they have mice now, Edward?
I'm not sure of that.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to say. I think that if ask some of the other tenants if there is an issue that mice are now in your building because they've migrated from someplace that, they're being exterminated and they've come over to your building, then it is something that maybe, Lauren, you can deal with or take up, figure it out. All right. So Edward, would you please get back to all of us and let us know if other tenants in your building are experiencing a rise in the mice population?
Definitely. I'll be happy to do that, and I'll send some of the videos of Mickey and Minnie jumping around.
That's all right. Don't share that. Just share the information. Thanks,
If I
Edward.
may, this is Rosa, just on that topic. It's like fact that when you do construction, that the rodent populations move around, their homes are being disturbed, which is why they have a rodent mitigation program for each of these projects.
That's right.
So
I wanna
yes,
know if
one is caused by the other. That's just like,
that's why I need to know, Rosa, if they're in if they're in that building and they're in all the other offices in that building, then obviously that building needs to have special attention paid to it. So let's get that information as soon as we can. Edward, again, would you reach out to some of the other tenants in that building and let us know?
Definitely, yes.
Yay. Thank you.
Of
Thank
course.
you. Okay. So Diana, anyone else? Another question?
I think Vera was going to try to connect with Charlie on the phone so he can ask his question. Vera, do you have Charlie or would you like me to read his question out?
I'm gonna try him right now. Let's see if this works.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys.
Hi, hello, hi.
Can you guys hear him?
Yeah,
we can.
Yes.
Am I live at this point?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so very much, Vera and everyone, for your patience and helping me get through this workaround. I really appreciate this. So I just want to say that notwithstanding our absolute displeasure about the jail development, I do want to commend the Gramercy staff in addressing some of the issues that we had, and so to try to make things a little bit more tolerable under the circumstances. And I think the security guard is a really good solution. I want to thank you all for that. I want to have just to say that as a suggestion, perhaps that I understand that the trucks have to have those backup warnings to deal with safety. I just wonder if a flagger in directing the trucks in backing up to prevent others from being run over by the trucks, that may be a solution. I think that could deal with some of the concerns about the backup sounds that are really disrupting the neighborhood. Now, the thing that I'm actually really super concerned about, and is a great concern of ours, is all related to the air and the asbestos work that's being done. As you all know, that the Chong Park complex has a daycare center, and that the mitigation work, the asbestos mitigation work, is in the North Tower. It is, as you know, right next door. So, and it really does make sense to us that real-time presentation, right, of what is happening will be really important, especially when you guys are saying that the work that you're doing in ensuring that the air quality is so much lower than what is permitted by law and by DEP, that if there's such high level of confidence, why would not be that it is that it would allow you guys to send it to put it on the website on a real time basis, and so I just want to say that. And then the key question for all of us here is that during this entire abatement process, did work ever stop? And if it did, right, that is now for our concern, that even if it is stopped at the less than what is permitted, it's stopped. So the community need to know that. And if it is all absolutely safe, great. What is the harm of saying that everything is all hunky-dory? It is perfectly fine. To then tell us that you actually perform your work in mitigating that for the community. Anyway, just want to say that. And I want to thank you all for allowing me to say those things. And unfortunately, I couldn't, my computer crashed, so I couldn't get anything right now. So thank you.
I'm glad Vera was able to help you get on, Charles. Okay, so did Charles need a response? I'm not sure.
If I could just explain something about how environmental work happens when you're on the interior of a building. Any abatement work is, I don't know if everyone understands, but it's under complete containment, which means the area that the asbestos workers are working in is completely encapsulated in plastic. All the joints are sealed, they're in full PPE. There's a big negative air fan that filters the air within that containment. When they come out of containment, they have to go through a decon where all of their PPE is disposed of in plastic bags. All the material that's being abated goes into plastic bags and gets disposed of that way. So the entire area that they're working in is under containment in accordance with EPA standards. Sorry about my screaming toddler.
I'm not sure
And
that.
then also I can throw in the air tech guys. They're not only holding up a monitor that's sucking in air and testing how many fibers and particles are in it. They're also checking to see that all the different measures that Joe just mentioned, the taping all the seams and closing off every wall. They're not just air monitoring, they're project monitoring too, to make sure that these guys are doing every different required hundreds of precautions and regulations that are in the books, that they're following them to the T. So it's very heavily regulated, a lot of layers of regulation these guys have to deal with, and kudos to them for doing it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood, because I live, as everybody knows, next to the World Trade Center. I've been through this a lot. Under containment means that they are completely enclosed. I'm not sure everybody understood that. Doesn't mean we shouldn't ask to get air monitoring, reports, but asbestos especially is really heavily regulated. So I want people to know that. And it does mean that nothing should be open to the air. This should not be escaping into the air. All right. Anything else that we have any other questions, Diana?
Yeah, we have a hand up from Jill, and
Our Jill?
I don't think so. Let's see. And then Howard put a hand back up.
Not our Jill.
Not our Jill, another Jill. Hi, Jill.
Hi. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Jill.
Okay, hi. So I want to raise a point. Some of the small businesses have raised on Baxter Street, specifically the restaurants, with the closing off of the other side of Baxter Street. They are having very difficult time getting deliveries in. They can't get deliveries in, which of course impedes their ability to do business. What is the solution to that?
I just want to ask, have these businesses contacted Pauline to let her know that they are having this issue?
I am not aware of that, Pat, but all I can tell you is that they have expressed great consternation about their ability to, because delivery trucks, food trucks, supply trucks, they are not small. And they usually, for example, take advantage of the parking across the street because there's sidewalk sheds on the side of the restaurant. and they cannot park across those streets anymore to deliver.
Okay, so Jill, I have a suggestion. If you could reach out to those uh, businesses that are having that issue and have them reach out to Pauline, or tell Pauline which businesses they are so she can go and visit them, so that she can, help them to figure out a way to get their deliveries. They may have to do some sort of schedule and coordinate getting trucks in and out for them to get their deliveries. I'm not
Pat, if
sure.
I could just chime in
Yeah,
and give as a witness to what we were saying before, no matter what schedule, they would be blocking the street. Like there's only like one lane, a small lane that you can that goes through because of what's been done over there. So it's impossible for any delivery truck to stop for more than 30 seconds because everything stops. It
Okay.
would
All right, so Mitch, they're gonna need help. So we can't do it. We need to
Right.
have Lauren figure out how to do it.
But
and
it's a whole, all the businesses. It's not just one or
Okay.
two. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
just
no, I'm
leave-
not asking community board. I'm here to
No,
address
I know,
this to
Jill, I
Lauren
know.
Messier.
Right.
Seems to have the ability to make changes because I think this is something that has been overlooked. And if Baxter Street does not have any more businesses, you will have a problem. They're going to be choked off. So I want to know, what is Lauren going to do about that? I don't want to talk to Pauline. I have these businesses telling me this. Okay, because Pauline
sure
does not, honestly, Pauline does not act fast enough to be able to deal with it. She has to go back to you, Lauren.
Yes, we have a large team. It's not just the communications and outreach, but all parts of this project. There's a lot of entities involved, so we do understand sometimes it takes a little bit of time to figure out what the solutions are going to be and to come up with the responses. But we will make sure. Pauline has done visits with all of the local businesses and the businesses on Baxter Street. We had appointments again. We have had small business services come out a number of months ago to talk about things. We can do another visit around with small business services to try to understand. We'll have conversations with businesses, what the issues are, and see what we can do to mitigate.
Okay, with all due respect, that is I'm telling you, that is not a solution. They cannot get their stuff delivered. It's a very clear problem. You're going to have to organize much more than just talking to them. That's why I'm raising at this meeting. You cannot choke off the businesses.
So so I'm not sure I'm understanding. Is there a way to actually have a spot for delivery trucks to pull in?
I think
There is no
are-
spot there, Pat. That's what she's
Okay,
saying.
Mitch,
No.
let me hear from Lauren and
There seems to be
I know that
areas
spot as well as anybody.
either before where the outdoor dining starts or after, which would just require the delivery guys to, walk further. And I think part of the problem
Well,
is
I'm
they
sorry.
want to take the
Do you know
fastest
the
route.
street? There's a parking lot right after. All the sidewalk sheds go along on Baxter all the way down, and then there's a parking lot.
Hmm.
There's not any space there. I am telling you, I walk that street.
Hmm.
So like I said, I'm repeating myself over and over again. We've got a real problem. And I'm asking someone to be very strategic, not brush this aside.
Understood.
can we get Lauren? Is it possible to get out there tomorrow and talk to these businesses, or tomorrow's Thursday or Friday, and actually get some feedback from these businesses and take a look at?
Yeah, so what I meant earlier by we'll make sure we go out and have conversations is not that the final solution is to go out and just have a conversation, but that is our next step. We need to talk to the businesses directly and understand, all the intricacies of the issue. I hear what you're bringing up tonight. We hear you loud and clear. This might require some conversations with other city agencies. We might need to talk to DOT. So we will look into this. We're taking it.
Can we get some feedback next week on what's happening?
We can give you feedback as soon as we have feedback to share, Pat. I don't want to commit to a time frame that
Okay, but it needs to be
we'll
done
have the
quickly.
solution, but we will work on this immediately. Yes.
Okay, because we don't want these businesses to fail. So we need to have it happen as quickly as quickly. Okay.
Thank you.
Jill, thanks for bringing it up. Would you get back to us if this continues to be an issue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please.
I will.
Please.
Thanks.
Thank you.
you.
Okay. Alice, did you have your hand up again?
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we are clear, Lauren, that you could help us to set up some sort of meeting at the Environmental Protection Committee to review the environmental impacts and the
So I was gonna
questions that
bring
we've
up that
raised. Yeah, so I just want to make sure
go to your
that's,
committee.
yeah, that's down as a
And you
possibility.
probably want to write a reso, and if you want to write a reso with our committee
We have written a resolution asking
about the
for
monitoring.
the monitoring, asking for an independent monitor. And so it would be helpful to review all of this in a meeting where we have DEP and DDC and the tech group, the third
Okay.
party on site. That, and
So
I'm
then
just
you'll send
throwing
it
it
out
out
a
there.
motion to try to have that
Yeah,
on your
yes.
agenda. Okay. Andre, did you have your hand up again?
I just had a follow-up question. In terms of the community outreach, one of your slides said you're gonna reach out to the Chinatown community stakeholders. I'm just wondering who comprises these stakeholders and how are they determined? Are they just cherry-picked by the city, or like what is defined as a Chinatown stakeholder?
Yeah, that's a good question. Do we still have Sean Min? I think you were helping to organize this from DDC. Can you speak to this question about how we selected some of the folks to join the meeting and how we also, I think Pauline was also doing some outreach in the neighborhood to let some other people know?
Yes. Hi, Andrea. This is Xiaoming Zhao from DDC. So we work very closely with Chinatown Group. Like we know a lot of there are family associations there, CCBA, Chinatown Bid. We also work with some like building owners because they can share information with their residents. We also reach out to invite a small business near the MDC area because they like business from Baxter Street, business from Center Street. We invite a very large stakeholders to join our Chinatown stakeholders briefing. And we also share information with Chinese media because we know that a lot of immigrants, they get the information from newspaper. So and also we do door-to-door outreach. Pauline and I, we were in the neighborhood all the time. Like for example, we do door-to-door outreach, we do pre-construction survey, posting all the information, English and Chinese in the building, and talk to business owners one-to-one. We work closely with DOT. We work very closely with SBS to help local business.
So do you have a list of the stakeholders that you will be inviting to these meetings to put input, or is this just like an invite only and,
No,
because
everybody can join. Like for example, when we have a meeting, we will reach out to, for example, we will reach out to CPC daycare because we know a lot of parents and children have an issue. We also reach out to Child Be When. We just when they're like before the meeting started, we would did a door-to-door outreach. Like for example, 139 building, a lot of medical office there, lawyers office there. We went there door-to-door to do outreach, invite people to join our Chinatown stakeholders meeting.
so I've been there since 2018 and no one has come to my door.
What's your building?
139 Center Street.
139. We have this team pretty new, so we start a lot of engagement this year.
So, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, you say you've done a lot of things, but it doesn't sound like, you're reaching people. So that's why I want to know, how are you going to identify the stakeholders? Because if it's, people who are just going to go along with things, it doesn't really help the community, right? So they're
Yeah,
not
we-
really
we
they're not
went
really
to-
representative of the community voices. So if you're going to identify stakeholders, it'd be nice to know who are you identifying as stakeholders in the community.
But if you can, please email Pauline Chen your email, so next time we can make sure invite you to join. Like for example, we went to 139 Center Street building twice, door-to-door outreach each floor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So since 2018, nothing. So that's what I'm trying to say. This is from personal experience.
Yeah, please sign up to our NNN list, and then we make sure when we come to 139 next time, we will visit your office.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like I'm involved. I'm engaged. People don't know what's going on in my building. There's like over 100 units. And if I've been there since 2018 and you've been there twice and you haven't hit me, who else have you not hit?
Is signage being put up in that building, in the elevators, in
Nope.
the
Nothing.
hallways?
Nothing. I walk down Walker Street every day. I don't see any signs. That's the thing. It's like you say you do all these things, but I don't see any evidence of it as someone who's walking there day in, day out.
We also share information with the building management office too. And then
Out
if
of
they
curiosity,
visit the
Andrea,
building,
check with
when
your
the
building management and see if
I
they're
will.
falling down on their, what they're
Yeah,
supposed
but
to
I mean,
do.
if they're saying they're knocking door to door,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see it at all.
All right. Well, put your name on the list and then let us know if you're not getting
Sounds good. Thank you.
notification. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah,
yeah,
thank
please
you.
share your email.
Okay, any other questions? It's getting late. It is.
We have Jan Lee who's joined, who has a hand up, and Howard has a hand up as well from the public. I'm going to
Okay.
go to Jan first because Howard, you've already asked the question, so let's get
Right.
Jan first.
Thank you.
Jan, I just sent you an unmute request.
I just want to say for always, thank you to Community Board One for your continued on the ground advocacy and for your continued work with us on the streets, walking these streets that we have to walk and live in. So thank you again. With that said, I'm glad that there are people here who are in charge of drawing the maps that you all review and that we all review in the community because they are grossly inaccurate. And I say that because just as was expressed about Baxter Street being reduced to one lane, which does not allow for people to stop, it is not possible. It may look that way to anyone looking at it on any of the distribution maps that are going out, alerting you of what's happening. Those are inaccurate because the dining sheds are not drawn in. And I would implore this board to say anything presented to the public absolutely must have the dining room, the dining sheds, which are in the street, they are not on the sidewalk, clearly marked, accurate to scale, so that everyone has an idea of what the traffic situation actually is. That is the least you can do. To omit these things from the maps is disingenuous and will create more confusion for this board, but also more confusion for anyone looking at what is about to happen. We're not even in the stages of the demolition yet, and we're dealing with inaccuracies that are inexcusable. These sheds are not going away. You can always amend your maps when they do go away, but for this time being, for the entire length of Baxter Street, we have to deal with them. So I'm asking you for at least giving us this small amount of accuracy. And I would like very much if we can have a commitment in front of the board today that this next iteration of maps will reflect these dining room sheds to scale. Can we have that commitment from you? And also to the
Yes, we'll make
speakers
sure that we
talked
add the
about-
dining sheds and that they're represented the next time we show the diagrams. Apologies for the oversight on this round.
I don't think that they were an oversight. I don't understand if you're going to show us dotted lines and traffic patterns of the way that you're going to bring things in, you must have to have done this in other neighborhoods. It can't be omissions. These are not temporary structures, and they do reflect the accurate traffic pattern. So please do that.
Okay, so we have
As
a
far as the-
commitment that will be
as far
drawn
as
in.
as far as the door-to-door visits, can we look forward to a log of who you have visited and the dates that you visited them so that we could follow up? We've done this before during Park Row visits when in fact we had to sue the government, we had to sue the NYPD for an environmental impact statement, as you guys know, many years ago. And what we found was that many agencies will say that they visited, but there's no log and there's no accountability. So can we get a commitment from you that when you visit a business, you log it, you tell us who you saw and the date that you saw them? Because NUBC, Neighbors United Below Canal, will revisit those stores to make sure that in fact they have been visited. We're hearing from Dr. Ju that she wasn't visited. And so there's a conflict, there's a contradiction there. We all want to avoid this. We want accuracy. I think it's the very least that these agencies can do. And again, I appreciate so much the time that Community Board One provides us for this commentary. Thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
yes, we can begin sharing a login record of where we're visiting when we do the in-person visits.
That would be great. That really, we would appreciate that.
Yeah,
Okay,
happy to share that with the board.
that's 2 commitments. Terrific. I see that, Desi, do you have your hand up? Yeah, go unmute yourself.
Yes, I do. I just wanted to say quickly that I have noticed in doing different kinds of outreach in communities, whether it's for campaigning or other things, that sometimes there's a disconnect between the building owner and the building management and the building maintenance. And so sometimes those entities don't always speak. And so I'm not saying that someone did or did not do something, but I do think it's important that if you're trying to go door to door to people's apartments in buildings that require permission, that happens first, because there could be an attempt to knock on doors, and then if it fails for one reason or another, then the attempt is lost. Or if signage has to go up, there different buildings have different requirements for signage. You know, they may not allow for something to be slipped under every single person's door. They may only allow one posting in one area, and if people miss that, then it gets missed. So I think that maybe there should be some review on what the requirements are, what the policies are, and what levels of permission need to be had before going into certain buildings, because each one have each of these buildings have different requirements.
That's kind of why I was asking if things were posted in the elevators or, you know, the community rooms, mail rooms, so that they're in real public spaces so that people can see them, because Andrea says she hasn't seen them and she's been in her building for a long time.
Yeah, ideally they'd be like something would go under in every mailbox or under every door, but sometimes that's not always allowed, or sometimes the effort is not made. So
Okay, so the community outreach obviously needs to be pepped up a little bit. All right. Okay, any other questions?
We've got one more question from Howard. Howard, are you still there? And then I will note that we have Scott P, poor Scott P, who has stayed on so long to give a report on the EDC Water Street reconstruction project, who we didn't catch in time.
Okay, we
who
didn't
is
know
still
Scott was
on the
there.
line.
All right, so
Okay.
we have one more. Was it Howard? who
Yeah.
was good?
Hi.
Yes, Howard.
Yeah, I've been listening to the comments on air monitoring, and I will admit that asbestos monitoring is usually highly contained, highly regulated. The question, however, is on dust monitoring, vibration monitoring, and noise monitoring, and there have been no comments or no assurances that any of these will be disseminated information will be regulated, because the scenes that Chung Pak will get hit with those first. Yeah, and we need to also have notifications on what's happening with dust, noise, and vibration monitoring. And no comments have been made about that.
Lord, yeah. Well, we had some. We saw slides about the vibration monitoring. Was
Right.
Joe or Lauren, who wanted to just address this?
Sorry, I'm not sure. What was the question?
The question was that, you had mentioned about the asbestos monitoring. I said, I realize that's highly contained, but the question is usually the dust monitoring. If you go over the Pell on the dust or noise or vibration, how's it going to be notified? Quarterly is just not going to do the trick over here.
So we use an AQS system which records all three of those: noise, vibration, and dust. So we will have data for all three of those readings.
Right.
Yeah.
That is not contained like the asbestos. That's usually not contained, and that can go out into the air.
No, understood. But I think in a number of board meetings, we've gone over the type of scaffolding system we're using, and it's going to create a surrounding perimeter with noise attenuating blankets, and dust control misters and stuff like that. So no, it's not fully contained as asbestos is, but there will be the areas, the levels of the floors that we're working on will be surrounded by an attenuating wall, which will be incorporated into our scaffolding system.
And next, in September, when you come back, because you will not have started your deconstruction project yet, right? Maybe you could give us a very clear idea of some of those methods that you're going to use to mitigate the dust and the noise and the vibrations. that possible?
Sure.
Okay, great. So September, Howard,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, any other questions about this project? Because if not, we're going to close this. It's 8:46. I would like to thank Lauren and Joe and the team, and we will see you in September. Enjoy your
Thank you to
holidays.
the committee for your time and for all of your questions and feedback. We appreciate it. Thanks,
So
everyone.
we have 2 commitments from you,
Got it.
and you're going to get back to us about what's going on with the businesses on Baxter Street and their deliveries. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Okay, Diana, we have poor Scott. We didn't know he was there.
Scott, are you still with us?
Yes, I
I'm
am.
so
I'm here.
sorry
Good
that we
evening,
just missed
everybody.
you the first time around, and thank you for sticking with us so long.
Oh, no problem.
Sorry.
No problem. Can you see me fine?
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
So as an update to the Water Street project, we're currently at 3 locations and we're excavating the roadway in all 3 locations. The first one is on Water from Broad to Quintet Slip. We're excavating for Con Edison's gas installation. And on Water Street from Quinte Slip to Hanover Square, we're excavating for Empire City Subways, utilities, which is telephone. And we're also excavating for Con Edison's electrical conduit installation. And our last location, Water Street from Wall Street to Pine Street, we're currently excavating for Con Edison's gas main installation as well. This weekend, we have some upcoming work at the intersection of Whitehall and Water Street, and that too is hand digging for Con Edison's electrical conduit utility. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you for waiting so patiently.
No problem. I love hearing all the comments and the different projects.
Now, the other question is, are we still on time? What was the deadline supposed to be for all this work?
So the deadline is the summer of 2023, but I believe that will be extended. So
Oh, that's
maybe
not
at the
good
next.
news.
I know. It's so much
You're saying
tedious
it's
hand
early.
digging.
Well, you'll come back in September and let us know if there's anything.
I will.
Okay, fantastic. Scott, thank you so much. We will see
No
you in
problem.
September, so enjoy your holidays and your summer.
Thank you. You do as
Pat,
well.
sorry, I had a super quick question. This is Rosa.
Rosa, hi.
For, I was wondering, when is the specific project at Pine and Water going to conclude?
At Pine and so you're talking about water between Wall and Pine?
Correct.
Yeah, so right now I don't have a timeline. I could say a couple of months. There's some layout work that Con Edison is still working on. And so when they get those layouts, those drawings, they'll be able to move, to move better forward in that respect. If you like, I don't know if you're on my network notification list. I can add you to
That
that
would be
list
awesome.
with my updates. Yes, let me give you my email address. It's water, WATER, S is in Sam, T is in Tom, C is in Charlie, C is in Charlie, L is in Larry at gmail.com. And I'll add you to that list.
And
And so
also,
so you may not see too much work going on now because some days are on standby. Like I said, they're waiting on some layout requests from Con Edison, but it's a lot of tedious hand digging. They can't use the machines because there's so much interference, and we don't want any accidents to occur. So that's why you might notice, that it's pretty slow over there.
and
Okay,
also by
but
September, you'll have an update.
Oh,
right.
definitely.
Oh, awesome.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes, but water between Pine and Wall, there's some extensive work that has to be done. So now we're working on digging for gas, but they also have a lot of electrical facilities. We haven't encountered any telephone yet. but that's a really rough location. So as of now, I would just say for the next couple of months, definitely into the beginning of fall at least. But like I said, I can update you. You can always reach out to me for any more information you may have.
Okay, and that's waterstreet at sccl@gmail.com.
Yes, waterstccl@gmail.com. Yeah, Scott Payne.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much.
No problem. Nice meeting you.
Nice to
Any
meet
other
you too.
questions? Anybody else? Scott, thank you again. Sorry we didn't see you. Next time you have to let us see you.
I have to do the double wave.
Exactly. So have a safe and wonderful holiday and summer, and we'll see
Thank
you
you.
in September. That sounds
You
like
do
a
the
plan.
same. Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye. All right. So committee, the question on the table at the moment is should we have a meeting in July or should we skip a meeting in July? If there's anything that anyone feels we really need to urgently discuss in July, we will have a meeting. But if there isn't anything, then we will skip it.
Okay.
I say skip.
I
Anybody?
second that.
I think we're gonna skip. Yeah.
I'm so tired. I'm good skipping.
So what I need, first of all, is Desi is still here with us. Did you hang in throughout the whole meeting? Oh, Desi? Okay. While Desi is off doing whatever, we need to, in September, come back with some topics that we need to put on our agenda. So I would ask everyone to think about it over the next couple of months. Desi, hi. Did you hang in there through the whole meeting? Yes. So what do you think about your first meeting?
The whole thing. Well, I like to be a fly on the wall. You want to ask questions, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So I'm trying to figure out what I don't know until I can know it. And then
Well, it's your first meeting. We're all old hands at this. I just want to ask you, what part of town do you live in? What part of our community?
Well, I live uptown.
Oh, okay.
I live on the border of Harlem and Washington Heights on Riverside Drive at 155, but I work at Metropolitan College of New York.
Oh, wow.
I'm
fantastic.
Right across the street from me.
You're right around the corner from me. I'm on Cedar.
Yeah, I'm a graduate of MCNY. I went to graduate school there, and I currently teach community health education.
Wow.
And on Saturday, I went to my very first graduation as a professor. Right after I helped deliver a baby in
You
Brooklyn,
told me.
'cause I'm a doula.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I
Also,
turned
wanna wish you
50
belated
on
happy
Monday.
birthday.
Happy birthday early.
Thank you. Well, no, on Monday I turned 50.
27th.
Oh,
Very cool.
don't rub it in. You look great.
It's good genes and shea butter.
Shea butter. I like that.
Yes. And black don't crack, so I'm only responsible for about the 50 I do 50% nurture, 50% nature. So 50% I
That
have
works.
no
Keep it up. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. And happy birthday.
Thank you so much. I'm still celebrating. I've been wearing my tiara all week. I just
Oh, I love it. Look, I love Rosa. I love your little thing there. Oh my God.
Actually, you know what's funny? For my 50th birthday, which was years ago, I wore a crown also for my birthday.
I've been wearing it all week. Today's the first. I just got my braids done, so my head is a little tender. So it's the first day I haven't been wearing my tiara, but you'll
Keep it
see me in it in the next meeting because I'm rocking it for all of my 1972
Good.
brethren.
I love it. I love it.
We've
Good
come
for
out of
you.
some very tough, difficult couple of years. So
Oh,
this
yeah.
year is.
It's something to celebrate.
Exactly.
So it's great
So
to see your
everybody,
faces.
I'm glad to have you with us, Desi. It's fantastic. And we don't just do construction issues. We do rats, we do noise, we do lots of stuff. So anyway, everybody think about it over the next couple of months. Whatever topics, if you can come up with some topics for us to put on our agenda for, starting in October. We'll talk about them in September and then we'll put them on the agenda starting in October. There may also be things that we have covered over the last year that from last September till now that we should do a follow-up on.
Yeah.
So anybody, if you can think of anything that you'd like to, find out what happened to that.
I was thinking about the cobblestones, if there's been
I
any.
was thinking about the cobblestones also,
Yeah,
Diane. So please
definitely.
put that on your list.
Decision? What happened?
Which one?
Was there a decision with the cobblestone? No, we had a resolution. We did have
Had a
one.
resolution, right? So Diane, put that on your list.
And I'm so happy Desi has a background in public health.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, maybe we
So-
could talk about doing a reso to ask for a cluster study. From
Yeah, maybe you can help us figure out what they need.
I was thinking about that too and wondering if maybe either a collection of schools down there or one of the universities or colleges might be interested in partnering with us on that.
That's a great.
That would be
Let's talk
interesting.
about-
That's a
let's-
cool
please.
idea.
Everybody, let's think about that for September. I just want to ask a question. Andrea, you're still here. Andrea, am I mistaken? Are you now on our committee? Did I miss that? Andrea?
She's still here, but she's not here.
Diana, do you know?
I'm checking the list right now. I don't believe that she is, but I know that she's been very involved in the Manhattan Detention Complex
Well, I'm
issue.
glad she joined us. I'm
Yeah.
glad she joined
She
us.
certainly was very, very involved. So my gosh,
Yeah.
very
I
impacted.
don't know if we have any other new members on our committee.
Is Andrea? Somebody
You're breaking up.
Can't
Jill.
hear you, Jill.
Sorry, somebody Andrea Jew, right?
Yeah.
Somebody referred to her as Dr. Jew. Is she
Yes.
because she would be great to have on our committee.
But I don't know that she's joined the community board. That's what I was trying to find out. But she may not. She may have not signed off and yeah. Okay, so again, let's think about topics for September. That's it. As always, it's a great committee. I really appreciate the dedication. I appreciate all of you sticking it out till almost 9 o'clock. Now,
Yes,
the last
definitely,
thing
yeah.
we want to say, the last thing we want to do is give Diana a round of applause.
Diana, thank you. You're going to be so
Not just
missed.
for tonight, not just for pitching in here tonight, but
No.
for everything you've done over the last, how many? 6 years?
Over 10, Pat.
Oh my
And
God.
oh my gosh.
Really, it's been that
I
long?
started at the community board when I was still in graduate school in
Yeah,
2011.
right.
And you all just couldn't get rid of me. I just never left.
We didn't want to get rid of
We
you.
didn't
Don't
want to
you
get
feel
rid of you,
happy
exactly.
now? Well, congratulations on the new job. We will miss you very
Congratulations.
much.
Yeah.
We
Yes,
appreciate
congratulations,
everything that
Diana.
you've done for us, and please stay in touch. Don't lose contact.
I mean, I'll be working on Lower Manhattan issues for EDC, so you'll see me around. It's really
Great.
hard to leave after 10 years. So many of you I've worked with for the whole 10 years. And now we have really cool members who are delivering babies and
Right.
teaching. She's got
Right.
a tiara on, and now I have to go. It's really hard. It's really hard, but I'm so sure that I'll be working with all of you in the future.
Yes,
come
we
back.
don't want
Come
we
back
want
and
to
see
be able
us.
to see your progress and see where you go from here. So stay in touch with us.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. All righty, everybody. I'm gonna say good night. And
Night,
I will
everybody.
see whoever's coming to executive committee tomorrow night, we'll see you there.
Yep.
Mariama, you and I are gonna have a conversation with Desi tomorrow, 12:30. And that's it.
See
Thank you.
you
Thank you.
in September.
Oh, I like that. I like that, Desi. And she can sing too.
Or two.
Okay, Pat, don't forget
Jimmy
tomorrow.
didn't say anything tonight. Jimmy, how are you? Jimmy.
He's on.
Good. I'm doing good. Yeah.
Good. We missed hearing from you tonight.
Well, yeah. I'm
Be
a
quiet.
quiet guy. I'm a quiet guy.
Quiet guy. Jimmy.
Oh, sure you are, Jimmy.
Bob, we didn't hear anything from you tonight. How are you, Bob? Bob?
He might be there. He might be.
I'm here.
You're
Hi,
there.
we
There you go.
missed
Hey,
hearing
Bob.
from you tonight.
I'm here.
Hi. And
It's
Detta,
a
we didn't
hospital
hear
day,
anything
so
from
I
you
have to.
tonight.
I have.
So
I have
he's
to
tired.
walk all the way in. Walk all the way in from the hospital after hours of treatment. So
Oh, wow.
I made it.
Full day.
Good.
Hospital
Good for
days are
you.
bad.
But I was ready. And if you were going to have a resolution, I had that. I was ready.
There you go.
Were you
Thank
here
you.
for the resolution?
I was waiting for an end resolution on some of these things, but
Okay, well,
that's what I was set up for.
the environmental stuff is going to go to Alice's committee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just want to say, Detta, we didn't hear from you, but hi. All right. All right. Good night, everybody.
I gotta go, guys. Take it easy.
Yeah, yep,
Hey,
let me
Diana,
go too.
we'll be in touch.
Bye.
Please stay in touch.
Pat,
Bye.